Okay, board's ready.
Do we still have captions? I mean, are we trying to?
We got
caption it?
captions, we got,
Okay, this is on, everything's on.
everything's on.
Okay, I make a motion to open the meeting.
Second.
Mayor Plummer,
Hi.
motion passes.
Okay, is there, actually, before we move forward, we are having some technical difficulties for anybody who's trying to zoom in or online. We may lose you. We have had, our telephones have been down and our internet has been down, so please bear with us. Everybody's welcome to come in person, of course, always. Moving forward, is there any board member who has a conflict of interest or anything to disclose regarding the agenda items tonight?
I have none.
Okay,
I do not.
I do not.
I just would like to disclose as far as the Granicus presentation, I did get a presentation by them once already. And I just thought it was such a great presentation that I wanted the board to also have a chance to look at that. So I just wanted to disclose that.
okay, and I do not. Okay, could you give the open meeting compliance certification?
Sure, if you wish to pose a question to the board, you can post it in the Q&A. If you want me to ask the board, if you wish to do that yourself, please raise your hand and I will recognize you. Please give your name and address. If you're joining us in the room, same thing applies. Otherwise, I say let's have a quick friendly meeting and move on.
Okay, thank you. That being said, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. And I'll ask Trustee Limbeck to lead us in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. Hi, Jeff.
Hello.
Jeffrey.
Any public comment? Anything, anybody online
There is,
for comment?
I'm waiting,
Oh, okay.
not seeing anything at the moment.
All righty.
Dorothea, how many are online?
We have 5.
Okay. Well, we're gonna, let's see, we'll wait for Dan to come back. Why don't we move forward then to setting the public hearing for the Buffalo Bills short-term retail permit? This is the same as last year, pretty much, Steve.
And it was.
Yeah.
The road from July 23rd to August 8th, roughly 8:30 in the morning till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. They use Sutherland High School parking lot, so people there can do the training.
Yeah, is this the 25th year?
That's what they said in the
Isn't it?
paperwork, yeah.
That's great.
It is.
Wow.
It was that long.
I know, that's very cool. Any
Those are
questions?
on Hard Knocks this year too.
Yeah, right, yeah, there's a whole film thing going on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was chosen as an extra for the Buffalo Bills Hallmark movie. And they overbooked, so then I got delisted. I just didn't want to show up everybody else.
oh, you, hey,
I know.
you know,
It's very nice of you.
may need to get a new agent, you know, come on, that should have worked out, right? I know. Okay, any questions or any comments? Otherwise, a motion or?
Before we
Yeah.
set this, should we go to the last item and decide whether we're gonna meet the 16th or the 18th in June? Or don't we have to do this that soon?
Well, it's when, it's not till, when does it start again? July?
No, whatever, I guess should be made a meeting first. to just
Yeah,
have-
why don't we do that?
Yeah.
Why don't we do that then? Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay. So we're gonna hit the pause button and then jump down to the request to move the June 10th meeting to either the 16th or the 18th. Because there's some scheduling conflicts and you're away and,
Yep, it turns out I'm away and
yeah,
my calendar was faulty and I didn't think I had a meeting. But we do have a meeting and the board is free, obviously, to meet without me. I'll miss you. Or my suggestion was 16th or 18th, but if that's a conflict, we do have a bill pay meeting already scheduled for June 24th. don't have a
yeah,
calendar.
isn't it? That's what I have, I think, June 24th.
Or you can pick any date you'd like.
We can't do the
So-
bill pay meeting on that 16th or 18th?
We have bills due.
We can, I just don't know if we're gonna have full board for either of those.
Yeah,
So
that's
I just saying, that's why I'm referring it to the board. It's, you know, Alexandria would substitute for me, but
Mhm.
it's.
Also on the 24th, that we would be moving maybe the LOR
Correct.
legislation as well, is to keep that in the
Well,
pipeline.
I would say we still need a special meeting the beginning of the month to pay some bills, and you could set that public
So we
hearing
could
at
do it
that
at that,
time.
okay,
Let's
just
do
so
that
we're,
then.
Dorothea, so we only have one meeting usually in June, right?
Correct.
Okay.
But what we did with this calendar, if you recall, because what we run into is when we go the 3 months without a meeting, we get bills that back up and we get late fees and penalties, and I don't like those in any shape or form. So that's why I scheduled tentative, like noon, quick meetings to
yeah,
pay the
so
bill.
I'm gonna make the motion.
So the 24th would only be bill pay at this moment.
At this moment, it's your choice. You can make it a regular meeting at 6 o'clock. You can do,
So could we combine, effectively take the June 10th meeting and make it 24th?
we could do that. The only thing I need a special meeting though to pay bills and set
We
that
still need to,
legislation.
that's the thing, we still need it, because we'll be behind.
And that would just be the 2 items, whatever.
How do you guys feel about 1 week from now? Is that enough time to do the bills? We will get it done, get it out to them.
No, I'm gonna say no, because we're just paying bills, so you need a couple weeks
It cycles.
So why don't we do a full meeting on the 24th and just keep the 10th? And
for a bill pay and,
for a bill
Mhm.
pay and a bills public hearing.
or the LOR. Oh,
Yeah.
Well,
oh, you
for
can do the
both,
bills
for both.
public hearing
Yeah,
too.
Why don't we do both, you know,
Okay,
the two for,
Right,
okay.
I think that makes sense.
So
Okay.
Tuesday, the 10th,
Same as it was.
Yep. keep
Okay.
it to-
and then,
Limited agenda,
and then do the 24th.
and the 24th will be a regular agenda.
Yeah, instead of a short, it'll be a. full.
so we're swapping it, basically.
So they're both gonna be at 6 o'clock?
Mhm.
So the public meetings are 6:30?
You can go 6 o'clock. I'm okay
No,
with
I'm sorry,
the,
our public hearing is 6:30 usually, 6 o'clock start, 6:30 hearing, or do we do?
you can do 6 or 6:30. I'm okay. When it was 5, I wanted 6 to try to make sure the public could get here. So
Sure.
if you want to go 6:30, that's
In
fine.
this case, 6:30?
Mhm.
Okay. So then I think we're set then, is that right, on our meeting?
Which 24th at 6:30?
That's.
So the
Well,
10th, the
Whoa,
10th
whoa,
and the
whoa,
24th.
whoa, whoa, whoa.
24th is a normal meeting at 6 o'clock.
Okay,
The 10th is gonna be a very short meeting, specific to bill pay, I guess the LOR, and the bills.
Bills,
If,
Public hearing.
right, move to public hearing, and we might as well just do it at 6.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna be such a short.
Right.
yeah, I would,
Yeah, I would.
why not?
Yeah.
Just keep
I would agree.
it simple.
Okay, so then, if we're good with meetings, I'll just come back to the set the public hearing and make a motion to set the public hearing for the Buffalo Bill short-term retail permit to June 10th at 6 o'clock.
Second.
Okay, trustee Limbeck,
aye,
trustee Coe,
Hi,
trustee Marshall,
Aye.
trustee Welch.
Aye.
Mayor Plummer,
Aye,
motion passes.
go Bills.
Yep.
I like that. 2 agenda items, 1 shot.
nice.
I know, we had another 2 meetings that we got, we're cruising now. Okay. South and West Street bid award, so everybody's seen, you know, you had that in your packet. And there was a recommendation made by GPI, and I think have they zoomed in? Or not?
I'm looking. Hold on. We just had a Q&A question that's, I'm not sure where it relates.
Okay,
I'm not seeing information. Yeah.
well, they made the recommendation, I mean, we all had a chance to take a look at that. I'm good with that, I mean, they've really been honchoing this process.
Yeah, I would just echo it.
Yeah.
Coming in within what we anticipated
Yeah.
in our budget.
And that's what we hired them for, to help us make things like that.
Yeah.
If I read it right, it's coming in under our.
Yeah, it is, in a way, yeah.
Yeah, it's within the parameters.
I actually have quite a few questions for him, but I can deal with them offline. I think it was very poorly done.
Okay,
Okay, it's just, I'll go through it with them and get the
okay,
answers.
oh,
Yeah,
I want to talk with you about that,
all right.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, but there was some other, I'll fill you in on things
Okay.
before you came on the board too, so.
Okay, is it, I'm sorry, I just wanted to question, is there concerns with the actually?
No,
wording of
no,
it?
it's just.
It's just,
process.
So then, Are we making a motion then to approve the random contractors for our engineers, recommendation?
And you would have to direct me to
And
sign?
authorize the mayor to sign the contract
And
accordingly.
authorize the mayor to sign, the letter as such. That's my motion.
Is there a second, please?
Second.
Okay, trustee Marshall,
Aye.
trustee Co,
Aye.
trustee Wilkes.
Aye.
Trustee Limbeck,
Aye.
Mayor Plummer.
Aye.
Motion passes. Just to inform the board, I'm gonna be reaching out to Bernie Donegan and get the bond started, because given the time frame to start paying the bills from the project, from when they start construction, so I anticipate, I think we had a set time for them to start in June, so I'd say anticipate first bills come in July, so I want the bond.
Yeah, and with regards to the bond, maybe it'd be helpful to have our rep here, but we were thinking originally of issuing as close to $1 million as we could, right?
Mhm.
Even though this is coming in under, because we know we're gonna have another project next year and we have road work to do.
Right.
Was that still on
Mhm.
everybody's agenda for today?
I think as a practical matter,
Yeah.
you know, we all thought it would make more sense
No reason not.
instead of paying the money to go back out to do something, you know.
Yeah, the plan was to get 950,000
Mhm.
and
Yep.
use it for the road project, because we don't know what we're gonna run into. You might have change orders or
That's true.
Mhm.
other things,
Other
so
things.
we'll have the money, whatever's left over, roll into the next road project. That's how the bond resolution was written.
And staying on roads for a minute, it's not an agenda item, just a question, which is, when do you have to put out the RFP for the engineering work for Sutherland?
Tomorrow.
Okay, great.
No, I have engineering specs that I'm working on to give the board. I need I need Scott Harder to review them,
Mhm.
just the bid specs. I'm using his specs we used for the engineering, but I'm making it bid for 3 years for engineering services total, so we don't have to keep going out to bid for each project. This way we have someone in our pocket,
Mhm.
so we can move right to the next road project.
Okay.
Just so we
So
can.
that's in the works. That's-
Yeah, I'm hoping to have that, if not next meeting, the following.
Okay, thanks.
So that's just an update then, you know,
Yeah.
there's no action. I mean, we're moving it.
No.
Okay.
Sooner than later, I'd like to get that done.
Okay. All right, so next up is the amendment to the local law on the rental registry. Remember, this was the discussion to have the inspections in 3 years. There was this is the amendment to the rental registry law to have the inspections staggered over 3 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you know, nothing more than that. It was, you know, I just think it's a practical matter and I think it's just, you know, makes sense. So. Any further discussion on that?
So it needs to be changed in this, is what you're saying,
Mhm,
correct?
we're amending it,
Yeah,
yep.
so C, right, 154-7C. Was it going to change it to
Mhm.
3 years?
Yep.
Okay.
Anything else to add on that, Jeff?
No.
Okay. Any further discussion or is there a motion to amend the law?
Just a practical matter, which is, will you try to do these like 1/3 every year for those 3 years?
No, I'm actually got a plan right now to do them all this year,
Yep,
Get it going.
but I'm ordering that.
okay, and then in 3 years' time, when these are coming up to expiration and you quarter them again,
Yeah.
do them all within that year, you would
Yeah.
space them out
Mhm.
a third.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep it all within the warm months, so I'm not tracking snow into people, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
Everything
practical
during
matter.
nice weather, so I'm not,
Okay.
you know, messing up people's homes.
And just in this law, if you were to do an inspection over the next 3 years, 18 months from now, how soon to that expiration do you have to be with that inspection in order to still have it be qualified for the next 3 years?
I said, well, I'll keep it about, what I've done is that I'm gonna give a window to a quarter of 30 days. You have this month to schedule your inspection, so I would think 3 years from now. Same exact thing.
Mhm.
Do the same, okay,
So it's like a 30-day range of dates. That they
Yeah, so
can
it
set it
gives-
up
gives
with
them
you.
Flexibility.
Yeah,
But they
yeah.
have to schedule within that 30 days that I give them.
right.
Is there a fee for this? permit?
Pardon?
Is there a fee for this permit?
No, the permit, yeah,
Yeah.
150, they've all paid 150.
So that means we'll only get the 150 every 3 years, instead of the every year.
I think that's fair.
Go ahead.
That's a problem for a
Yeah.
financial person. We budgeted to collect that fee
Exactly.
next year. So I hate to start in a negative. Sorry, but no, in the law, I think it's indicating collection of every year.
That it was in the law.
Yes.
That's up to you guys. That's not.
Well, we would do that or we up the price for the 3 years. Right?
Well, I think all we're doing here is we're extending the inspection
Correct.
to be every 3 years.
Yeah.
But the fee
But
will pay every year.
the application for the rental
law.
is still a year.
That part wasn't amended.
Right.
Okay,
Okay.
that makes our financial person happy.
I'm happy again.
No changes are good.
Okay, is there a motion from someone?
I think we have to send that to public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Jeff to
Right.
write the.
We have to send it to public. Yeah, we have to do the whole enchilada.
Yeah, sorry.
I know, what when I was. Yes, so,
So then we can't send it to public hearing until we get the local law drafted, is that correct?
right. So Jeff's gonna work the magic.
One of the things to the public that may be of interest, as we put the cover letters on the meeting items and the agenda items. Is it possible to just sort of summarize, like attached or included in the packet is the existing local law discussion will be? Or how do you guys feel about that? Because sometimes I'll look at this and I'll look at it and say, is this the new one or the old one? And then I realize it's the old one because I look at the dates, but it doesn't include with it what the conversation is going to be. So some people in the public may look at it and not have that understanding. They're just looking at the old law. Thinking, what are we talking?
Right, and I talked to Dorothea today a little bit about giving us a little more information.
Well,
before-
Okay, that's not, I'm not gonna say I'm overworked, but that's asking a lot for me to summarize because you're giving me your agenda items. Sometimes
Well, I was
I
gonna
don't,
say, who's the
I don't
onus
know.
is on?
I don't
You
know.
or?
Right, I don't know the intent. I don't always know the intent. And the same thing for me to gather items for your thing. I might be grabbing what you're not wanting. Because
Mhm.
to me, if it's your agenda item, you should give me everything related to your agenda item.
Yeah.
It should be just simple for me to add it to the packet.
Perfect.
So if you want to write up about what you're including or not including, maybe
Yeah.
you should include that
Mhm.
too as well.
That's pretty standard. I mean, for us elected officials, if that's something that we want to advocate for or put forth to the public, it's not incumbent on, any staff member to kind of sort through what you're
Sure.
thinking.
I think it's perfect.
You
I
know.
agree.
So
So,
it seems like we're all in agreement. Let's
Mhm.
try our hand at that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep, and then I would say, let's change to do that. And I don't want to police you.
Mhm.
Yeah, great. No,
If
no.
you tell me to put something on the agenda, I'm gonna put it on. either way.
And the other thing too, just while we're talking about it, just, sort of overarching, sort of thoughts here. Because, the staff is running the village on a daily basis and, in addition to this. If earlier you can make requests instead of, on an afternoon before or, right before the weekend, that kind of thing. It really makes a huge difference for how, everybody manages their time internally. So I just want to make everybody kind of aware of
Why can't
that.
we have like a dead date? where
Well,
effectively-
we-
we did
always-
have a dead date.
right.
Right now, the dead date is noon on Friday for the board, but I'm gonna change that. Because
Thursday
I
night.
have to actually put all these together and make sure everything blends. And some days Toby loves me and other days it doesn't. So. And
Does that make sense? Thursday noon, really just to,
Mhm.
I think, also, I mean, you see the packets, it's like War and Peace, there's a lot that goes in.
Yeah.
And even to say, oh, I don't want that, oh, I want to stick this in. It's like
Right.
all the dominoes fall differently,
So Dorothea, maybe when you send out the packet, can you just maybe put a little reminder, remember Thursday, just until we get to
Yes.
some of the things, and also if you're gonna request anything I'd like a little write-up. Just in the beginning, a standard line,
Yep.
just to remind us so that we make sure that we get in the habit of doing that.
Right, I will do that, but I will also try to move I know like this week you got your tentative agenda on Thursday. It's just because I wasn't here. I'm gonna try to make sure you get those by Tuesday.
Yeah, great.
yeah,
Right, perfect.
I mean, that's
Yeah,
something else we can.
that way you have a little more warning.
Worst case, as long as it's not bill pay and certain things that have to happen, right? it's pushed out 2 weeks and we have a better discussion with the public's more informed and
Yeah.
things into it.
And really what we're trying to do internally is like after a meeting like this, we just look at all the action items, what's been closed out, what still needs to move forward. And then also things that we know are coming down the line, we try to anticipate out,
Yeah.
not just the next meeting, but maybe a couple meetings out.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we're really trying to have a longer lens on it, yeah, which instead of being sort of a little more reactive, so.
But I appreciate that conversation.
No, it's good to have everybody weigh in on that.
But can we have the motion to direct Jeff to update that local law?
I'll make a motion.
I'm not sure yet what that's gonna be, because the previous thing. And the permit term of the year. But under inspections, it says that state will do it, whatever is necessary. To ensure the property is. In compliance with the regulation for this. Chapter. So,
So it doesn't give a time frame.
no.
But you know what, I think when we had that discussion, because you were also,
Newcomb thought
Yeah, it's right here.
that.
right,
And for peace of mind and peace for all the owners, that I think somehow in there it should be written and it's met every 3 years.
but that doesn't preclude you if you know
Right.
that there's a safety,
Right.
that's where I'm going, that's the only sentence I was trying to utter in this discussion. It would not preclude you from going in as needed,
At a minimum,
yes.
Cause.
Yeah.
Thank you for pause, that I couldn't find the word, thank you.
Do we want just the board to give you that option to review it, Jeff, and come back?
No, I'm good.
Okay, so
But oh, just to clarify,
Yeah,
it's the intent of the board that. The permits be renewed annually, but inspections are every 3 years.
Unless probable cause, unless cause.
What if we were to, in 154-7A? Simply say, upon receipt of the above mentioned application for a residential rental property permit, the building inspector or code enforcement officer shall, no less than once every 3 years, review such application for completeness and accuracy, oh no, I'm sorry. Shall review such application for completeness, accuracy, and shall inspect no less than once every 3 years, the subject residential rental property, to be sure is fully complies. So then you have a 3-year window. And you could potentially, in a wording like that, do some next year.
well, he could anyway.
Yeah.
For public safety,
Right?
I mean, he already.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
So
mean,
then
it's,
it covers us.
it's covers, yeah, it's like belt and suspenders.
Yeah, no less than every 3 years, right? So then.
Mhm.
I think that works.
That gives you the window.
Yeah, and it doesn't really change much.
So I'll amend my motion as meant as.
for Jeff
Said
to,
by-
Okay, we have the amended motion, is there a second?
I second.
okay, trustee Limbeck,
Right.
trustee Marshall,
Aye.
trustee Wilkes.
Aye.
Trustee Coe,
Hi.
Mayor Palmer,
Aye.
motion passes.
Okay. I think we lost Dan.
I think we did.
Well, you know, he's got the Olsen twins. I
For
had
sure.
to say that, I know.
Yeah.
I know. Okay, where are we? Oh, discussion and review of, the code on lighted village signage. Yeah, the code's in our packets here.
Mhm.
This came up because there's changes in technology. And, there's one business that has a sign up still now, right? The barber shop.
Barbershop, the store at 5 Monroe and the new.
Yeah, there's the third, I forgot about the pop-up. Yeah, and so,
There's a couple down in Northfield Commons.
In these neon.
There's a couple down in Northfield.
you know, I just wanted to bring it back to the board because it's not neon signage. Right?
No.
It's like digital, Yes.
LCDs.
Is it like
LED.
the open sign on the new?
yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, so,
Could you identify the signs that are not in violation to us? You could send them to us private, like amongst ourselves, so we can go out and look at them. And then come back and have your stuff and you know them now, and we want to talk about them now.
we can all go look at them if you're not clear.
I'm not. clear. I
Okay,
just wanted to
well,
work-
not a problem at all. I just wanted to bring it back to the board at some point. You know, let's all take a look then, so we're all on the same page about what it looks like, we don't allow neon signs in the village. Am I correct?
Right.
I don't think,
Right, but that's
I don't think it's neon.
That's not a.
Right, this is a new technology. The neon signs are in a code that was probably written back in like the seventies.
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is, as technology progresses, even though it's not a neon sign, it has the characteristics potentially of one. Because, it's just
Yeah,
the technology, that's all I'm saying.
Yep.
So I think it would just behoove us as a board to do site, take a look at some of the locations. Steve
Yep.
can provide those to everybody. And, bring it back to the board.
So under
You know.
168-5B, it says no sign shall be internally lighted and no sign shall be illuminated. So I don't see neon anywhere in here.
You read it down through another site.
No
Yeah.
gas filled to
That's
neon,
That's
got it,
Yeah.
permitted.
And
Okay,
if
no
you go
gas
to that-
filled.
If you go to that section C, 168.5C,
Mhm.
it references, except those provided in 168.7F6. I couldn't find 168.7F6
Oh, yeah.
in the code.
I know,
Probably disappeared
It's,
somewhere.
it's,
Okay.
yeah,
So if we're gonna change,
There are numerous reference errors.
yeah.
yeah,
It's in the
I-
ether, which is a
Okay.
different kind of gas.
right.
The,
We should probably fix that too.
Oh, yeah, while we're in there.
Yeah.
So hold on, I'm still confused. To me, or light, and then no neon. So those are two different types of lighted signs, correct?
It contradicts itself in a way, to me, that reading that code, it says things in two different ways.
Well, they're two different things.
Well, I don't think if there's clarity, let's say that, it's not, so we have an opportunity now to take a look at the new technology that's out there in a few locations here in our village. And take a look at this language and whether or not it's clear enough.
Or whether you want to ban all lighted signs.
Well, I was gonna say, what's the goal? And all. Like, what is?
I just wanna see what I'm looking at.
Yeah, I think we should take a look at it. In other words, do you want digital signs that are flashing? Do you want
Neon light.
neon lights back? Do you want, what does that look like? And I know that in most preserved districts, historic districts, this is not uncommon to not have these types of signs
Right.
because you really want to sort of, you want to preserve the overall integrity of the district,
I agree.
and it changes the look of the streetscape when you're looking at a facade or, a building. So that's why I wanted just to bring it to the board. So we all just,
Yeah.
take a look, come back and discuss it.
And then they are under D, no projecting sign. Remember, we kind of talked about the fact that a lot of historic villages have the signs. that-
Oh, I'd love to
Remember
change
that?
that.
We
I
talked
think we
about
should,
that, and we talked
and
about
that is a
that.
characteristic of our village.
Yeah.
Years,
Saying, and I don't remember that, but I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen it.
when I was
in other
growing up.
villages.
Oh, yeah.
And we might want to look at that. idea
Yeah, let's
as
take a
well.
look at it too.
So what
100%.
I didn't know, when this came on the agenda, if this, and I know it said lighted, but I wasn't sure if that was just part of the code for a different reason. But we had talked about last time, perpendicular versus parallel,
That's where we're going.
right? And old
Yeah.
trade signs were
Mhm.
cool and things
Yeah.
like that. So it's creating some potential additional flexibility, maybe not neon. But the question that I would have is, does the HPB or would the HPB come in and talk to us, or could we invite somebody to talk to us about historical signs in the late 1800s, early 1900s, right? That would be neat to have a nice little presentation, to hear about it.
And also our town historian or village historian would be
Yeah.
able to weigh in significantly.
Even
I mean,
if it's 10, 15 minutes.
Sure. Or, a memorandum or whatever they
Yeah.
choose to do
Yeah, however
as
they
a
want to
board.
present it to us.
Mhm.
But I
Are,
think-
are there different degrees of LED brightness?
I'm sure you can get dimmables now, I mean, different things, yeah, like both the barber shop and the noodle place, their lines were moving, so I had them remove that, because that's clearly stated in the.
They switched it off on their sign.
Yeah.
That's what they did.
Yeah, they don't, for the
Mhm.
one was circling like that, and the barber shop had this
Mhm.
haircut thing that was moving, so
Mhm.
both of them were able to stop that, and just have stationary signs.
And I think that the reason why this has come to fruition is because I've contacted you a couple times, because I remember distinctly when I was on HBB, When Starbucks came in,
Mhm.
they wanted to put an illuminated sign in their window and we said absolutely not. And at that time, we were pretty strict. HPB was really strict on allowing illuminated signs. So I've just been noticing them and I just,
Yeah, they're
I
indirectly
remember.
lit.
Yeah, so that's why I've been bringing it up to you, because I was like, I just remember that distinctly. They really were pushing for that. And we wouldn't let Starbucks do that. So that's kind of why I came up.
I mean, where to, see, I don't know where to draw. Or put on a window or a doorway that are attached, they are part of the physical structure sign.
Mhm.
You know, you start, there's my dilemma, like you go by chandeliers. They have an open sign in the window, just a little open sign, it's not lit, but it's an open sign, so. Do I make them take that out too, because, you know, I mean, do it.
But it's not lit.
You know, I mean, do it, it's like, cause they put a lid open.
Where is that in the code, though, that they couldn't just put
Yeah,
a
they
sign
could put a
saying
sign,
open in the
yeah.
window? Where is that?
There's nothing, that's what. I'm
Okay,
saying, that's what-
well, then why would we look at that?
Yeah.
Well, I'm saying as far as the lit noodle sign, I guess it's just like. It's lit, but you know, having an open sign that's hanging in a window.
It's a different affect.
Right.
I mean, having worked on preservation boards and you too, and Jeff can weigh in on this. It changes the streetscape in terms of when you are looking at the architecture of a building. If there's an open signs go back, you know, to the colonial days, you know, in other words, they didn't have LEDs, they didn't, you know. So it's about really the overall integrity of the streetscape. When you see the changes in signage like that, it changes how you're looking overall at a preserved district. Jeff, did you have any other thoughts on that, or, you know, I mean, it's.
Oh, but you need a pretty clear idea how to, what you want, you know, all this.
Yeah,
This isn't,
I think that's my biggest concern.
I think the other thing, if we look at 168-5D in the very bottom, it says, or pasted on the walls. Again, I don't want to pick on the new bar because I'm so happy they're here, but they do have more of a applique pasting sign up on their front. I don't know if that is considered pasted.
Who's that?
The new bar, they have that sign that's been peeling off, the like sticker sign that's up there.
Is that the temporary sign?
I think it's,
I'm not sure.
yeah.
I
So I don't know if
have to
that's,
look at
yeah, I don't know if
it.
that's considered pasted.
Stuff in everybody's windows.
No, this is their actual sign on the wood. It looks like it's appliques, it looks like it's stick-on letters,
Where's this one?
the noodle bar.
Was it approved by the HPV?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't
Or
know.
was it,
If is,
was it? Do we know?
I'll have to look.
I think we need to look.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's research that and let's circle back quickly.
And then one more thing, under G, this is a huge one, and I'm seeing more of this. Pendants, ribbons, streamers, spinners, other moving, fluttering things that are just kind of being stuck outside of storefronts.
No, the only thing they have is flags. I don't see any spinners or anything like that. You tell me where, but.
you're talking about the bookstore?
Which again, I love bookstores, so I'm gonna be, I don't want, but I don't want to pick anything, but we just need to make sure that we're following code. So if we are allowing that, then let's change it. If we're not, we've got to make sure we're
Well,
consistent.
then that's why we can bring it back to the board. Everybody take a look, everybody process this, everybody can weigh in, you know. That's why we're bringing it to the board. This is how
Okay.
we look at legislation and we revisit things. And is it still working? Do we need to tweak it?
We should also think about businesses as well, you know, again.
Totally.
The environment of the village of Pittsburgh as it relates to businesses and welcoming this, you know.
Yeah, and so
Make sure that we're involved. I think you were mentioning having the business roundtable.
Yeah.
And talking to the people, bringing them in, so they don't get kind of like. Little blindsided about.
Yeah, just being consistent, that's all. I don't care how we do it, just let's make sure that we're following.
Well,
our
I think we want to do stuff that doesn't negatively impact the business, but I
Totally.
cannot imagine somebody saying, I'm gonna lose business if I don't have an LED sign. You know, I mean, I think we just have to be very practical about it. That's all. And they know, they know already they're in an historic district.
Yeah.
They
So we're gonna
know
go
that.
and look at these signs. And come
So
back.
do we want to send a list out of what
Yeah,
that?
we want the list of signs and we'll all go back and look and then we'll come back
Yeah.
and discuss. Perfect.
Okay, so that's an action item for Steve.
And I'll put it on June 24th agenda.
Sure.
Sounds good.
Who, is the right person to ask to send a memorandum of understanding of signs appropriate for historic districts? Should we have somebody come in?
I would talk to the chair of the Historic Preservation Board.
So either
Yeah.
Dan or else Vicky?
So we can actually ask Alexandria to reach out on
Yeah.
behalf of our board,
Can we
because
do
she's
that?
clerk to their board.
Yep.
Okay,
That'd be great.
yeah.
So
And
Director,
if
you're
they want
gonna
to
do
draw
that?
upon other resources to do it, however they want to do it, would be great.
Mhm. And actually, in that request, I would, if we could send them the section of code that we're looking at right now, so they have an idea.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see where we are. Okay, discussion on short-term and training date presentation by
Are
Granicus.
we gonna add David as the check signer?
Yeah,
We need to do that.
yeah. Oh, I was just going down the agenda, but that's okay.
Wait,
That's
which-
Yeah,
okay.
we're on
We got a
the
guilt
set.
agenda.
Oh, I had the old one in the
Oh, I-
packet?
Wait,
No,
I have the one that John has.
John.
Oh,
okay.
Oh, I have
We
the
the
later
new one.
agenda.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I,
Have three.
Trees is gone.
Trees are gone.
Trees are gone,
Then I-
you know.
Add trustee Wilson's check signer.
that's what I
Yeah,
got.
the
Well, let's,
trees were scrapped, Granicus was added, and you didn't get the
oh,
packet.
you didn't get the Granicus thing.
So Granicus.
We don't
instead
have
of
any
trees.
information on that. Okay.
All right,
Um,
so we're basically gonna make a motion to allow Dave Wilson. That's-
okay, let's do that, 'cause that's,
Okay.
Yeah, let's just.
that's fun.
Okay.
Anybody want to make that motion? Let's just do it.
Make a
real quick.
motion to let Dave sign.
I second.
I need you to, somebody to sign it. Dave, I need you to sign a check. before-
I second.
Okay.
Dave and Dave.
Yeah.
Trustee Winback.
Aye.
Trustee Coe. Aye. Trustee Wills.
Aye.
Trustee Marshall.
Aye.
Mayor Plummer.
Hi.
Motion
Oh, the
passed.
Keystone Cops have nothing on us. Okay.
They're gonna follow the agenda.
Yeah, bada bing,
Okay.
bada boom. All right. So let's see, hang on. That happened. Okay, so, well, so then you guys did, no one has the information on Granicus?
I do. I've got a little.
Well, I'm just saying the board would like, the board
Yeah.
could see stuff, so.
I have whatever was on the website, it doesn't have this.
Correct. Okay.
So, but did everybody get my email? Didn't I send this email to everybody about why I wanted to put it on your list?
I got
Um,
Want me to read it?
Oh,
If not,
your
I will.
original.
Oh.
Yeah, it's why I wanted to put it on
okay,
there.
but there wasn't anything in the packet for the public or for,
Right,
any
yes,
additional
right.
information.
That's why I kind of thought that I could just read it, or we could just include my email and put it in the minutes. It doesn't matter to me.
What is this about?
This is about short-term rental enforcement. I've been kind of doing some research locally. And Ellicottville uses Granicus, and they had contacted me, they gave me a little in-service, and they basically explained the importance of,
Can you talk about what Granicus does?
sure. Let me just go read this, because I think it's easy. After 2 years of hard work to secure STR with legislation, I fear our work has just begun. All that time and energy is just half the process. Enforcement is very much important for the other half. To effectively enforce our local STR ordinance and to protect neighborhood integrity, we need more than just Ellicottville, New York, for enforcement called Granicus. They offer a proven end-to-end solution that empowers villages like ours to identify illegal rentals, ensure compliance, simplify permitting, and capture the revenue we're owed through accurate tax collection. With automated monitoring across 70+ rental platforms, real-time complaint resolution via 24/7 hotline, and in-depth rental activity insights, this platform transforms enforcement from reactive to strategic. Board training is the first step to understand how to use these tools effectively, demonstrating our commitment to fairness, safety, and transparency for residents and operators alike. I'd also like to point out the potential revenue impact based on Granicus' experience with similar municipalities. Estimated permitting fee, $500 per short-term rental during peak season, with approximately 35 rentals from last presentation. Total estimate of revenue is $17,500. Estimated tax revenue, again, we have to revisit this. This does not include the tax revenue that will be collected from Pittsford. However, based on data from similar municipalities around, a conservative estimate ranged from $15,000 to $65,000. 90% of the communities that work with them in New York State, have two core modules. One, address identification and compliance monitoring, and that cost is a combined $9,691. In our first year alone, in their first year alone, we should be able to not only offset the cost of the platform, but also generate revenue and improve efficiency for our short-term rental operations. I would like the board to participate in a live Zoom presentation from Granicus to understand the pros and cons of using an outside enforcement. So Granicus is just one of many. They are willing to do a Zoom presentation for our board, like maybe like a little training, 15 minutes or so, that will give us their just overall presentation, and then we can ask questions. If it's something that we want to do as far as enforcement, I mean, we've got a new law. It's taken us lots of energy, 2 years. A lot of people are not happy with the past law. I mean, as far as the STR owners, and I just fear that all that work, it's going to be difficult to monitor unless we have a significant monitoring system and enforcement.
So how many short-term rentals do we have right now? 14?
15.
14, no, one was sold, it's just a
Oh,
residence. So it's 14, and then after the
4 that
sunset,
are in districting.
hang on 1 second.
And
Asking,
after-
hang on, I'm asking a question. Hang on, just if I can finish my sentence here. Thank you. So 14, and then we're sunsetting how many? 12, which leaves us with 2. Okay. I'm not sure, and we have a code enforcement officer. I don't know.
Would this only be, so this is only for the STR?
Yeah,
Yeah, this is for all STRs that are going to try to open up STR businesses in our village. So it's gonna be monitoring sites
We
and,
can only have 4 total with the way the law is written right now.
correct, but if people don't follow the law, that's
It's-
where it comes
so
in.
we have a code enforcement officer who
But I
is that an undue burden on you to look at 4 short-term?
No, it's not. It's monitoring all the short-term rental sites and seeing if people are operating illegally.
Do that anyway.
You're not gonna be able to offset the cost of that by monitoring what isn't there. They're monitoring in a village, say like Ellicott,
Yeah.
it has 70 or so, but however many, that's how they generate revenue.
They're not
You're not
monitoring the
gonna
ones that are
You're
there.
not gonna be able to generate any revenue off the 4 here. Are you gonna penalize them and charge them an extra $500 now?
No, it's not penalizing. It's just allowing permits to be high enough to cover costs of monitoring the whole community. So not just the people that are here, we don't need to monitor them. If they're,
I feel like I have 0 problem taking care of that in this little village. We're not a giant organization. We don't have dozens of them. There will be 4 when we're all said and done. If I can't keep track of 4 and keep an eye on the other ones in here, I don't belong.
They'll fire you.
no, it's not keeping track of the ones that are here. It's not, it's keeping track of the ones that are going to try to come in and open up illegally. That's what they do.
So
You're on.
say the
you're on
number
the
again in
right
terms
cycle.
of the maximum that we would be able to have theoretically, 4, you're saying?
4. The way the law is written right now, 4, unless somebody wants to convert plates down and chain plates or Northfield, which isn't gonna happen. The way the law is written, we can have 4.
That being said, I think we need better enforcement because I've called, and you and I disagree on this, but every time I've called on 58 State Street, those don't get recorded as violations. And they're violating the code. I don't care how quickly the owner responds, it's still a violation that should be noted that happened on that property so that when they come in for something else, no, this is what happened.
Those, John, and I'm sorry to disagree, but those violations on that problem would not preclude me unless this board would force me to remove his short-term, permit. Because it's parking on the front lawn. I can go around this village every day and 3 or 4 that are parked on the lawns.
Okay.
And somebody dragging branches across the street is not a portion of an Airbnb, it's a portion of a stupid landscaper. Excuse my French, but a landscaper who's not properly conducting his business.
The problem remains that when you park over a sidewalk at an intersection such as this, where people are routinely crossing to get to the canal, they're walking out in the street, people are doing 55 miles an hour. I believe that those are violations, and when that gentleman comes in and claims a hardship and we say, no, you've had 15, whatever you want to call them, violations, incidents, whatever, that works against you.
Like I said.
Okay, we're kind of going down a
I
rabbit
think we're talking
hole.
about 2 different
I think we're
things.
going down a little bit of a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
So,
How did they come up?
Gannicus wouldn't fix that.
But it's not getting fixed now. because they don't get
That's
recorded.
because he's not doing it.
At
When the last time it happened, John?
At the last,
Okay, I think you guys should take this offline. We're in a public meeting and we're trying to conduct business and move things forward. I
I wasn't
appreciate.
done making my comment. either.
No, I was gonna say, I appreciate your comment if you want to finish it up, and then David Wilkes has a comment.
Oh, well, please go ahead, I'm done.
Oh, okay.
Just a quick question. How do they calculate this cost?
Which one?
The 9,000, the 691, like how was it?
So this would be the cost to the municipality for this module, the address identification and compliance monitoring. That would be the cost
So-
to,
So for them, it's a flat fee for
yes,
those two.
yes, for those.
Got
two
it.
systems,
Okay, so
yeah.
there's no way to scale down the cost.
I mean, they might be, yeah, I mean, I don't know, I just have touched the surface with this, it was just something that they made a point, the fact of, spending all this time, that you need enforcement, I mean, Steve feels that he can manage it, I mean, you're doing a lot, and I think that this is a new legislation, and I want to make sure that people know we're serious, I mean,
Even if it's new legislation, it's still the dynamics of the enforcement are traditional enforcement
mhm,
components. In other words, it's not, everybody's got to be retrained now.
mhm.
Every single short-term rental website, you're on them. I
Because
mean,
theoretically, your job's gotten easier.
pretty much.
After 15 months, my job, I mean, there's gonna be maximum for, right now, there's like 3, somebody that's applied for 4th. So.
Mhm.
So
Oh, no.
I was just gonna say, I think, it's an interesting idea when you have a lot of short-term rentals, especially when you have a municipality that's collecting daily rent per guest per stay, however that works. I think with the idea of having two, the monitoring of a non-STR, previously STR site, right, is not what they do. Right, they're not gonna go through all the properties that are not registered as STRs and make sure that they're only renting for 30+ days.
Oh, yes, they are, that's what they do. They enforce so that new STRs are not coming in unless they're permitted.
So,
They
okay,
monitor to make sure people are
So that-
legally,
coming back. The question is, what you're saying is they're gonna go out and they're gonna find where somebody online might be advertising to
Correct.
do something less than.
it's not in our right.
Okay, so what I would argue now, and Steve, you and I had a couple emails back and forth. If you go on Airbnb and you try to rent a place, a year and a half from now. Or one of the ones that was looking to be an STR but isn't. Airbnb won't let them rent for anything less than 30 days. It basically says, this is a month plus, right, it blocks them. You're gonna very easily be able to see whether or not it's able to be rented at under 30 days. I also think the neighbors, just like anything else.
Mhm.
Because we're
right,
small
That's
enough.
what I was
can
thinking.
call in and say, hey, look, we're getting like daily rentals over here,
Mhm.
weekend rentals, and I know that's not the plan. If you're not getting a complaint, I'm not suggesting it's not a problem, right? But it is a law and we can
Mhm.
find it out over time. Being that VRBO and Airbnb are pretty much the only two sites that I can.
They're the biggies.
Right, maybe there's Zillow, I don't know who else does it, but, I mean, the idea of not being able to find it periodically, even if it's just us spending a half an hour over the course of a year, I think we'll be able to see if there's ever. And we just
Okay,
let it
we can
slide,
play with it, yeah.
and.
If there is one, then we can go back and
Yeah,
revisit
and
it.
and
That's fine.
find that there is a problem 18 months from now, 24 months from now, and people are like trying to circumvent the whole system, Steve's like, I can't keep track of this is ridiculous.
Yeah, you would let us know. I know you would,
Yeah.
Oh, that's
if you're monitoring it.
And just for, in fairness to you, John, I will make sure. that
Don't go
58
there, we'll talk offline.
No, I'll just make sure that in 58's record, that your items are.
Okay, we're gonna,
On the property.
thank you very much. We're gonna take it offline. And Dorothea?
Real quick,
Yeah.
I would suggest, I believe if you contact the companies that do the SDRs.
Mhm.
With our legislation, that way they know they can't be performing in there, they won't list them.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, so that's interesting. So New York went the route, I believe, of aggressively preventing.
Yes.
Right, not STR, 30-day plus rentals on sites that are notoriously STR sites. We've not done that, so to the extent that the existing STR site owners would like to rent monthly, that's currently permitted, and those sites are where you would go to do that, right? So if we have guest
Mhm.
physicians, guest professors, you know, ESPN coming in for the Bills month or whatever it may
Mhm.
be, there's still a provision of hospitality that is
Mhm.
available, but it's not daily transient.
But if you sent them local laws, at least they're aware. And they
Yep.
could-
I think we should. Why
Yes.
wouldn't we?
Yeah.
I mean,
I agree.
what's wrong with sending them the law?
Yes.
You know,
Health tax at
Mhm.
some point, we should,
Mhm.
not looking at Dave,
Mhm.
we should look at moving that forward because that is a revenue.
That's
source that
something I
they
want to
have
bring back
spent.
on the agenda and it'll probably come up at the, not the spec, but the next one. Yeah.
Okay.
In
The other
July.
thing is, if I see this becoming, I would come to the board and ask.
you would.
Ask for help.
You totally would.
Yeah, okay, all right, appreciate it, yeah,
We try and figure out or take care.
Yeah, you're our boots on the ground. You see what's going on.
I just wanted to bring it up.
This is a cool company, you know,
Yeah, yeah, they're very busy, they say. So,
They know their market.
Yeah,
Mayor Plummer, before you move on,
Mhm.
I've been.
Yeah.
This popped in earlier. and
Oh,
it makes
okay.
Sense to me. Mr. Peter Goodman, 91 South Main Street, had a question related to the Bills camp. It is a missed opportunity for retail stores in the village to not more openly welcome busing from the Pittsburgh Library lot to St. John Fisher.
Oh, yeah, no, thanks for the comment, Peter. You know, that's a municipal lot, and just with buses going in and out and onboarding and offboarding, there's a safety issue. I know you,
Or they fill the southern lot.
yeah, and the Sutherland lot is really in terms from a staging venue, it's pretty great. I mean, I understand the impact on businesses, but we still, you know, some people still
The
stay.
only thing I'm thinking of it, and something that just popped into my head, makes me a little nervous. Sutherland Street.
Yeah, just with where we are with that. Yeah.
That's not gonna occur for another,
They've got torn,
No, well,
they
this-
got blocked off, there's trucks there constantly, I'm hoping by July,
Well,
mid-July, that things will calm down.
we're meeting with the district superintendent probably next week, and we're gonna be,
75-year-old, we should.
yeah, well, let's all sort that. We had that discussion earlier.
so why are there trucks and everything over on Sutherland? Because of the 75
They're seeding- They're prepping for all the directional drilling across under the road.
Well, what Monroe County Water Authority is doing is upgrading the entire water main down Sutherland. And so, yeah, it needs the upgrade no matter what. And so what they're doing, we had negotiated, last year, was it about, we were so worried about the tree canopy with how they're drilling in to access the water main and the laterals. It's called directional drilling, and this was a recommendation also from our village engineer, Scott Harder. So you're not just sort of trenching out everything and digging it all up. It's like they have drills now that go in at a specific angle, go underneath, yeah, and then tie in the laterals with the houses. So it's pretty cool. Hopefully we're not gonna lose trees, or if we do, they're not native.
Yeah, it's just that they have everything blocked off.
Yeah, just right now.
Past school.
Yeah, and we sent out, you hand delivered notification to all the residents and let them know what was
I
going
went
on.
to every house,
Yeah.
and talked to everyone.
Yeah, so, yeah, that,
Yeah.
but see, also, I think what's concurrent with that is the school district project on the Sutherland campus, because they're redoing the tennis courts,
So
they're
that-
putting in
That's what I
pickleball.
thought. I was like.
It's both,
tennis-
it's it's twofer again,
Yeah.
yeah. So there's a lot going on right now, you know,
Well, graduation parties.
yeah, all the graduation parties, that's right.
What
Okay.
about this, I know the camps in St. John Fisher, but if it's pretty backed up, I guess we leave it up to the Bills to determine other avenues. I mean, we're not gonna go
No.
search for other parking lots. Well,
No, they know what
yeah.
what they're doing, but I mean, I think, you know, we're gonna see kind of the status of things. You know, the school districts of where they know every year that this happens in their parking lot, so we'll hopefully sort that next week, and if, you know, if it's not gonna work out, maybe, you know, plan B.
Well, maybe, depending on where they're at, they might choose to have a real house or something.
Well, at one point, well, again, and it was because they didn't do the Monroe Avenue Bridge, that's gonna be, I think in 2 years, a redo of the Monroe Avenue Bridge through NISTOD, and so, that's a biggie. So, you know, it was looking at busing coming in, you know, over the bridge, and do they stage everything from, what is it, the call center, you know, so there's options. there's options, anyway. Okay. Anything else here? Moving on. Let's see, where are we?
Communication.
I think it's fine.
Communication.
Okay, so I'll try and be quick. Effectively, I remember that I'm the IT and technology liaison, so I thought, especially
Yeah.
if we're switching our providers. This is a great time to think about, okay, what are some of the technological efficiency improvements we could do that
Mhm.
relate to communication that hopefully would not be any more expensive. That's my hope. And so effectively that comes down to, I've had a couple of conversations, one on the campaign trail, but also more recently with residents related to big one that they always bring up, like, what happened last year with the leaves? What happened? I explained to them like the vacuum thing broke. I'm like, oh, well, we didn't know that. We didn't know what was going on. I'm like, oh.
I put that out in a bulletin.
Well, they're like, huh? I tell them, I'm like, oh, weren't you? They're like, no, I'm not signed up for these emails.
Mhm.
So for that, I was thinking, at what point would it make sense to create a kind of email and or cell phone kind of collection repository with, now that we have cloud server service, so again, security, from a security standpoint, it's
Mhm.
better. Where residents have the ability to opt in
Mhm.
to receiving official one-stop shop information from the village related to, from an email standpoint, it could be non-urgent things, whether that's again, meeting notifications, kind of what's going on right now.
Mhm.
But with the cell phone, urgent texts, things such as if you're being impacted by a water main break, or if there's a wire down, or if there's some police activity, whatever it
That
may
was my
be.
first year.
Yeah, well, this has been discussed and we could have added it with the website
Yeah.
update, but that was another 7,500 a year. It was costly to do the email alerts, the phone alerts, text, all that. On our website currently, and I encourage anybody that's not getting anything to go there, you can sign up and it goes to the constant contact and we send out those. I think we've had improved receiving of the agenda and timeframes and those alerts going out.
I still would like to circle back on the phone alerts. I think that we have other opportunities, even because I proposed it my first year in office and the board didn't seem to be receptive to that. But I think, there's so much that market's exploded.
Well,
And
exactly, I was
so
going
I
to say,
think
there
we
are a
could
lot of
really,
very cheap options.
yes, and the
Yeah.
town's looking at one, and I spoke with a member of the town board, Naveen Havanavar.
Oh, yeah.
And he has a lot of information on it, so if you're interested, maybe we can reach
Yeah.
out.
Because again, like I was thinking in my
Yeah.
head about like my son at his school, we get texts. like, if
exactly.
There's an active shooter drill, like they text us and say, don't worry, we're letting
It's
you
only a
know, this
drill.
is what's going on,
Yeah.
it's a drill. And it's just nice to be able to have that instant, oh,
Sure.
here's a big deal.
And we have been, even in the office, and I know Steve's been collecting, we've been adding, encouraging people to give us the updates and signing them up. We've been actively recruiting when residents come in and, we got tax season coming and if they choose to visit us, we will ask the questions.
Exactly, and it's
but
almost
I-
like finding those times, whether it's sewer time or tax time, to
mhm.
kind of let people know.
No, we,
If you would like to opt in.
we always do
With every
that.
bill that goes out, there's always that message to every single resident, every single time. Please sign up for bulletins and if you want to opt in.
Perfect.
There's always,
Yeah, we are.
every single, we've done that for the last, I don't know how many bills.
website provider, because if we can keep the number of companies we use.
Well, I was gonna say, the other concern I have is if we are routing through constant contact, then that creates a separate
It goes
three.
to, yeah,
Exactly. So if someone signs up, they're effectively signing up with constant contact with our
correct.
branding, right?
It sends it
Routes
right
through
to
that
the
and then
thing.
sends it out.
Yeah.
If there's an opportunity to keep it in-house, then
Mhm.
looking at that. might-
I'll get the pricing, we'll look at it, if you can let me bring it back in
Yeah,
July,
yeah.
that would. be
Oh, yeah,
great.
no, there's no, literally just bringing it up to see what people
Yeah.
think. See,
So that's an action item.
Be nice if there was a way to somehow extract the information from the building program, because we're probably at 65%, something like that, where I have emails and phone numbers for everybody. I'm bugging everybody when they come in,
Yeah, you have an incredible
what
database.
type of what do you mean, the building?
It's an old program.
It's-
I
It's not
have phone numbers
expensive.
and emails for at least probably 65% of the residents in this village.
Can
Like
anything
current.
be exported to Excel at a minimum?
I don't know how we get it out of the program.
Well, why don't we have
Yeah,
our
I'll-
IT
I'll-
liaison
yeah.
take a look?
Yeah.
I'm thinking to myself, there's a piece,
Yeah,
sure, there's a.
it's an
you
old
can use
program,
a
but
Python
it's-
code
yeah.
to kind of
It's
scrape it
Then
out.
we can figure out how to extract it
Yeah.
out, so we can have a technical list.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think John.
yeah, John had a comment.
I just want to know how we're gonna keep the older people informed about what's going on,
So-
because if I get a text message, I erase it.
Mhm.
I don't read them. I don't want to have to go on my email to look something up, and once a quarter, I get a letter from the town of Pittsburgh. And it's a wonderful newsletter,
That's what we're trying to put together.
and I can
That's what.
read it. I don't want to go on my
You know,
email.
Lisa and I are working on a
Oh.
newsletter. We're gonna try to reinstate
All
it.
right,
It
yeah.
was discontinued and it was unfunded for the last several years in the budget.
So that's exactly,
But you're saying the good stuff.
that's exactly what I was trying to think about, because I was like, okay, what is required to get a Facebook account? That's how I thought. I thought to myself, because that's an older demographic.
I do want to point out, not in the spirit of more communication. The year that it was unfunded was the first year that we came on the board.
Mhm.
The year before it was funded but not used. And
It was
so-
funded with $100.
No, it's 10,000.
No.
No,
No,
No.
oh, no,
It's not.
no, no.
A couple thousand, it was enough to send a mail.
Mm,
it was 1,000, I would say it
No,
was 1,000.
maybe.
I gotta look at that. Anyway, but the reason why we unfunded it, we didn't use it.
Mm,
And then here's where we are today.
mhm,
So
yeah,
to the
okay.
extent that it costs money to mail
Yeah.
things, I
Mhm.
think it makes sense to revisit it, and I'm glad you guys. are-
You may recall
But
my
I
first
think-
year in office.
But
Yeah.
that, but yeah, you guys are doing,
Yeah,
we're doing this.
You may
Yeah.
recall.
So do you
Yeah,
want to set up
I
a
do.
meeting, you and I? To work? on
Yeah,
that?
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely,
But-
100%.
Dorothea, let's set Mayor and I to set up a meeting so we can start to move.
But
on.
to
And we
your point,
have,
John,
we have internal templates already for newsletters,
Perfect.
so we can really
that is
send
very
it out.
important, because again, you have to think about what's actually going to touch some, like, what's a touch point where they're going to say, oh, okay, this is what resonates, this is what I see. And in many cases, it's mail, right?
Yeah.
Now, the only issue becomes, for certain things, I had residents who were like, would have loved to have gotten a text about the leaves. They keep bringing that up. They're like, I would have loved to have known what was going on. And so that's a case where it's kind of like. all right.
Well, I think what you're saying and what I think is important is that there's no one way to
Exactly.
communicate. There's never one way. It's multiple ways of reaching out to as many people as possible, period.
And you might
And I-
cut costs by having people opt in for a newsletter, so that it's not going to everybody. And
Yeah,
half of them are
That's
getting taught.
exactly.
Exactly.
Exactly, and that's what we tried to do, 100%, I agree with you, because I mean, I don't opt in on a lot of newsletters, you know,
Yeah,
I just say,
exactly.
oh, just email it,
So you
here's my
digital
email,
copy,
yep, I'm
whatever.
good.
So,
But
Okay,
give
so-
people that option, I love that.
so that
Mhm.
was my thought for resident to village.
Mhm.
Or excuse me, village to resident.
Yep, knew what you meant.
For resident to village, on the website, I was thinking some sort of kind of captcha enabled so that we can't get spammed and the server can't get overloaded. An ability for residents
Mhm,
to contact directly.
mhm.
And this, I think, ties into the STR. Self-reporting, kind of to see something, say something,
Or if they have a
Um,
suggestion,
if suggestions.
sure,
If they notice an issue for the DPW of, hey, something's broken here, something's almost slipped on the ice, like. And it routes directly to
Mhm.
that area. So again, name, email address or cell phone, whatever it
What
is.
if I told you it's already on there?
Is it?
Yes,
It is on there.
Where?
it's been on there for years. It goes, there's 3 different links, one to
Right.
direct to the village, one to building inspector, and one to DPW. There's a,
just like click on it and you can let them know. But
Okay,
we can
so that-
reformat it
Well, I was
though,
gonna say, so that
Yeah.
creates a great one. I'm glad it's already there. But 2, clearly it's not, like, we need to find a way to like.
I can't touch, I have no technology really. I'll show you where it is, I'll send you.
And you
where it
know
is
what?
to look at.
I can, and also we'll be seeing them at NICOM, but Hastings on Hudson has a really great website where, because I was thinking of that the other day, and it's just this button, it's like, wanna talk to us, click,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
it goes, and then it's just so, you can, oh, it's DPW, it's just, it's a button.
Yeah.
You cannot miss
Right.
it. Want to talk
Contact
to us,
or-
or something like that, like really simple. And then it's just, you put in your name, your address, all your information, it captures it, and, there's a filter. And then just, give us some, I don't know, 50 words, what you're interested in, and we can contact you, or what action do you want? It's
Because
really great.
Then that way.
It's a form.
I think something also, do we not have a way to get to the parking enforcement officer? Because that's one where I've had people say, I would love to be able to find the guy who can give this person a ticket because they're parked weird. Like
Why
you've
can't
had
they
that.
just call us?
Yeah,
Pick up the phone.
That's the other thing is like, sometimes I call them and they're like, I don't know. So I'm just
a
saying,
little
again,
surprised
going
at
back
that
to,
one.
going back to the whole point, optionality as it relates to things, it
Mhm.
already exists.
Mhm.
So
But we
then
need to
it
reform
becomes Reformatting,
Yeah.
adding
Yeah.
additional options or whatever it may be.
with the recent update, I'm not sure where it is, and it's usually on the front page.
Okay, so I'll work with you, I guess, and look into
Yeah,
that.
that's
Yeah,
absolutely fine.
you're the IT guy.
Okay, so.
Yep,
but
and if you know a way of setting up our Facebook page so we don't get verbally attacked again, please contact us.
Things like that.
Oh, yeah,
okay.
you love Facebook, David.
You know, I just don't like Mark. Okay, perfect. So in that case, I think the takeaway would be for me, thinking again about different demographics, what's the best way to
Mhm.
get in contact with
Mhm.
them? And then also working with the existing
Yep.
IT to kind of look into the contact form. Perfect.
Okay,
Okay. Any suggestions for me? Oh, yep.
No, I just wanted, there's nothing else for me on the agenda, is it okay if I?
Universe.
Hi, Steve.
Oh, before I forget though, so I'm on the phone with trustee Wilkes this morning. And I look out into my driveway and there's a deer. A doe just going, hey, what's happening? Then it crosses my front yard, right along Main Street, just ambling along, all the cars are slowing down. And hung out at St. Louis.
What time?
Oh, what time? It was early, it was like 8 maybe.
Wow.
Yeah, she was just
Looks
right
like in
there.
DPW, I don't know if you saw that, I don't know if you saw the shed that somebody found on the power line. It was a monster. It would have been like what they would consider a trophy.
Oh, yeah.
Here.
The antler shed.
Half of a 12 pointer that was like this big.
Wow,
Where was it?
in our
On
village.
power line, so.
Yeah,
And
over by Courtney. By Courtney, the right of way,
it's like one of those deer that every hunter would just be shaking and fall out of.
like a big deer.
Hey,
Right there.
safety in the village, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
It
safety.
was right behind somebody's garage.
That's right, that's right.
Yeah. All
Hey,
right.
thanks, Steve.
Thanks.
Have a good evening. Thanks so much.
While we were chatting about them, we did at one point have in the adopted budget 2022-23,
Uh-huh.
$4,000 for newsletters. And expended that year was 68. So it was the next year that the tentative budget had
Mhm.
3,000. And we cleaned it out because we didn't spend it the year before.
Mhm.
So I would
Mhm.
suggest that we try to bring that back. And if you guys are working on a newsletter,
We have
I
some
think it
in
makes
there.
a lot of sense.
I did slip some into the
Yeah.
budget
Yeah.
here, you didn't notice, I put in,
It just wasn't
Eagle
going
eye.
to comment.
But we're only mailing to the people that opt in.
right now, we have $1,000 in there, that's a minimal
Yeah.
stipend in there, so as we know, the lines can share, so
Yeah,
we can look at it.
But how are we figuring out who's opted in?
Well, hang on. This is what we could do when we send out our tax bills.
We can't.
Not now.
Why
No,
was
not
it already
now.
done?
It's
Not
'cause-
now.
'cause
I know. I know.
It's too late.
No, okay, sewer.
Just slide a little into that.
Put an
envelope,
opt-in thing.
Sure, we will do that.
And they,
Just saying.
No, I get it.
How much does it cost to do a mailing to every household?
I can't even tell you the cost.
I know, we'd have to look it up. Let's
It's
read.
600 something times 70 cents, but the other issue is, and I have no problem, we have no problem adding it, the
Mhm.
problem is adding it. It's a labor intensive every time we go to do a mailing and we add in things. That's all I'm saying, it's a lot of staff. time.
It is, but we need to have a newsletter. Let's put it down as an action item, like, let's take a look at
Yep.
what it would take for us to kind of gen
Yep.
this up.
Yep, no, I'm not
Yeah.
against it, I just,
No, she's,
we
Bringing
use
up the
stamps in the
practical-
office, we don't have a postage machine, we don't have a folder, and we don't have a stuffer, so we have physical labor.
we need a folder.
Well, I would be more than happy, to come in and donate my time.
You have
stuff
no
envelopes. I did, for
idea.
the newsletter, I would totally come in and do it.
Wow, we're
I
gonna
would
take
say-
you up
I
on
can't
that.
wait.
Okay.
No,
We're
I'm
working on a
stamp
folder.
stuff.
Get the little like finger.
And day number 3,
Yeah.
I've been using that finger thing for 30 years, David, please.
Yeah.
And it's in my desk right now.
Okay, we digress.
Right.
All right, folks. No,
Wow.
thanks, David. This is all
Yeah,
good stuff.
yeah.
You know, I think it really helps for us to just gen this up again for sure. Okay, next up, the board appointment discussion, process and training requirements.
Steve.
Dan had texted me
Oh,
and he said, table me to later in the meeting. I have to help with the twins. I'll try to make it in later.
oh,
Or the mayor can fill me in with what the trustees decide.
oh, okay.
All right,
Oh,
okay.
those Olsen twins, okay. Okay, thank you. That's helpful. I was a little worried. I figured it was the kids. Okay. So. What am I, they want to give the Gaskin Award.
I don't know more than that.
Yeah. I mean, do you guys know what the Gaskin Award is? And
Yeah.
yeah, you would know what the
Yeah.
Gaskin Award is.
Yeah, I know.
And Jeff, you're pretty up on the Gaskin Award, right? It was. Well, maybe between us, we can, just before.
Oh,
the next time.
okay, from that perspective.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to table it? Because maybe he'll show up. We'll wait a little bit and just bring it to the end. Maybe he'll show up,
Yeah,
right?
Do they have a recommendation for it?
yeah, they
Oh,
do,
okay.
they
So
do,
they actually do the selecting.
yeah, they,
I think the thought was that there would be some kind of joint meeting maybe of the HPB and the trustees where it was awarded.
yeah, sort of a presentation. The Gaskin Award, when was that, when did that come about? It's been around.
It's been around a long time.
Yeah.
Went on hiatus for, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, and so what it is kind of, at the close, literally in the spring, sort of at the close of the fiscal year, I guess, really is when it's awarded, if I'm.
Well, no. that's-
National
Maine's
Preservation.
Oh, May, yeah, of course, what am I thinking? It's Preservation Month. So, my understanding is that we have different projects happening in the village with different residents doing things. And it's really taking a look at residents that were, very deliberate and thoughtful about the nature and the historic character of their property. And have sort of gone above and beyond in terms of, what was required to ensure that they're not only stewards of the property, and that we all want to be, but they really are making sure that it's set up with whatever work they've done on the property for the next caretakers. It's kind of a nice thing. Yeah. So,
So it can only go to a historic home.
yeah, it's
But-
the preservation.
No, it could go to anybody in our historic village, so everybody's considered in historic preservation. Even if they're not quote a historic home. If you're in a preservation district, which is all of our village, anybody can be considered. if
Well, in
they're
the
doing-
in the historic district,
in
yeah.
historic district,
Got it.
yeah.
Okay,
Within
so
the historic
home for home,
district.
Still
Sure.
theoretically.
Oh,
Absolutely.
for sure,
Yeah,
yeah.
Follow
okay.
the same routes.
Depend, it's
Why
just,
do you want to be considered?
Well, I have a pre-war home. Kinda like-
but it's maintaining,
I wanna
Historic
kinda
preservation
think about it,
district.
yeah.
it's maintaining the character and the integrity of the property. And ensuring that it has been thoughtfully, rehabilitated or renovated in a way that
That's awesome.
preserves it,
Yeah,
yeah.
and it might be that they would be entitled to do whatever they're going to
That's what I was
do
thinking.
that is not necessarily historically complementary, but they've chosen instead to do something that is historically appropriate.
Right,
Is preserving the.
right. And I believe that they have made their selection. I don't know, I think Dan was gonna talk to the board about that
Yeah.
tonight. It is, I believe the address is 24 Boughton Avenue. They've done extensive work on the property. And they have taken the time, rather than try to replace all of their windows, to restore every single window
Exactly what I'm talking about.
in that house. Yeah, in other words, they could have technically replaced in kind with, newer
New wood.
wood. But they had the existing
Wow, that's
windows
great.
in the house. And have thoughtfully restored every single window and have also, my understanding is, have had custom storm windows, wood frame storm windows. Fabricated, in the manner that would be appropriate for those windows. Yeah, yeah,
Steve Jordan does that work.
yeah, he's retired.
Yeah.
I know, he's retired, yeah, and he just came out, yeah. Yeah, yeah, he's amazing. For anybody listening, Steve Jordan is sort of the go-to window restoration person in the region.
But he's retired now.
He has retired, he has passed on his craft to a gentleman who is in Geneseo, who I met at a preservation conference. And Steve has also just come out with a book, really quite definitive. I mean, it was just released and we're gonna be buying a copy for our library here for anybody who wants to check it out and for the board.
I gave him 12 grand.
Yeah. John gave him 12 grand. He helped with his windows, but he's really
Yeah,
amazing.
he is.
He's amazing, you know, he's sort of the window guy, and I've attended his window workshops and things like that prior to his retirement, so. So anyway, so the award, you know, it's a presentation, there's a, you know, proclamation, certificate or whatever of recognition, and it's framed, and I think it would be nice, you know, to have it at a joint meeting, you know, probably maybe at our next meeting, you know. So that's where we're going. Okay, filled you in. Meanwhile, back to board appointment discussion, process and training requirements.
Yes, so that's me. I just wanted to make the board aware, I was not at the meeting when the board appointments were presented to the board for vote. And after the fact, that I'm worried that was not appropriate because according to our code, we have training requirements that need to be fulfilled in order for people to be appointed to board positions or even reappointed. And I'm just looking at the HPB board. I have a couple questions. First of all, Maria Murillo, is she stepping into a new term or is she completing somebody else's term?
I don't
Do we
even
know?
have a sheet
Do we
in front
know?
of me. I don't have any of that information in front of
Okay,
me right now.
because I have the term ending 2027, so well, that would be a new
She's fulfilling a vacancy.
It
fulfilling.
was vacancy? It was
Is that-
vacancy.
Is that Virginia Cyril's vacancy, do we know, or?
It is, yes.
Mhm.
Okay, so Virginia left prematurely before she could
No,
fill.
she wasn't reappointed.
She was a holdover. Her
Okay,
term had expired
Okay.
3 years ago.
all right. So Dan Olson, obviously, he is reappointed to be chair, and he has filled his training requirements. And I have a training record, I think that everybody has that in their packet. So Dan has 5.25, but other than that, no one on the board, except for, well, Chris Dabrowski has 1.5, but no one else has done any training in the last, well, 1.5 years. So nothing from 2024 or 23 or 24. Yeah, 23 and 24. So I'm just concerned that we, you know, technically, we could lose our certified local government that we've put together. Looking at planning and zoning board, for planning and zoning, they have to have actually 4 hours of planning and 4 hours of zoning. So they technically need 8 hours of training every year. And other than Justin, who was not brought back, he has 20.25. I think we have David, yes, Dave, you're up there, but you're no longer there. Joanne Shannon has 2, Mike Reynolds has 2, but we have put Susan Loda back in, and she has none for the last 2 years. Jared Cook was appointed chair, and he has none for the last 2 years. So I'm very concerned about the processes, and I wanted to just bring that up to the board because you guys, you know, again, did approve the appointments. And I just want to make sure moving forward that we recognize that, or else we're going to need to change it in our code.
Yeah, thank you for that. I know Alexandria reached out to you and they have until September for this year's training. So I do know that the board members have signed up. Also, I think there's other parts of the code that speak to the fact that training carries over if you've exceeded the
Yep.
amount. So when the planning and zoning board years ago resigned, and there was a new board, and so Joanne Shannon was on the new board, as was Susan Loda, and they had easily, they had probably 4 months of training every other week. For hours, they had, I think, 2 or 3 sessions alone on Seeker with Frank Skiermamano. If, I don't know if you're familiar with his name, he's very well known for teaching Seeker. He's at RIT. He teaches land use and environmental legislation, something like that, I guess.
I went to MCC, one of my trainings.
Yeah, Frank, yeah, and he did, I believe, 2 or 3 sessions, so they had between, I would say easily in those first 2 years, between 60 to 80 hours. I mean, they were absolutely aggressive in terms of training, so that certainly would carry over when you look at what's reflected in the code. The other thing too is, and Jeff, maybe you can chime in on this about training should be approved by the board. Is it, was-
Yeah, I mean, really technically, the way this is set up, each board has to approve training
Mhm.
for the other three boards.
So regardless of who's gotten training or not, it all should have been approved. In other words, we weren't even following our own process, so. You know, that's kind of, I think, where we are at this point.
Board should-
So it's all good. I mean, I'm glad we're talking about it, but let's everybody get on the same page about what this looks like.
I think the first step is for the board to approve training for those 3 boards.
Yeah.
Is that like sources, say like
Yeah.
list,
Yes.
NICOM, the Monroe County
Yep.
Planning?
Monroe County
This board
Planning.
has to approve.
No, I'm just saying, just create a list of the,
Trainings.
Trainings that could work
Right,
Right.
to satisfy.
No, no, county
organization.
Land use plan.
Right, that's what
Exactly,
I'm saying.
exactly.
Can we just make a motion tonight to do that?
I'd rather go back and find out the sources.
I was gonna say, but the action item I'm thinking would be that Alexandria, because she's really honchoing this,
Mhm.
can pull together those sources. In fact, I think I just sent something to her from, there was a land use webinar coming up. That went out to everybody, so.
sources to be
We should
presented for
just list-
approval.
Just list the
Yeah,
priorities.
yeah, exactly, you know, and just
Presented.
pull together, you know, what's out there. Also, we have the, and we just subscribed to this, it's a really cool resource for preservation training, that I think is out of Washington DC. And they're just a database for training.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have a little membership for like, you know, $50, but they keep you very current on what's out there, so.
Yeah, we have some
Videos.
in-house and everything
Yeah,
else.
yeah, it's like webinars, yeah, some of it's in person if you can make it.
It's for historic preservation,
Mhm.
it may be easier to do like through Washington or have some of that
Mhm.
come in.
Mhm.
But for the planning and zoning, you would think it'd probably be more New York relative, so we'll have 2 different lists for each.
Mhm,
board.
yes,
Yep.
that's the way it would work, of course, because
Yep.
of different needs for
Okay,
each
great.
board,
That'll
for
be
sure.
awesome. Perfect.
Yeah,
So then Alexandra will spearhead.
Yeah.
Okay,
so that'll be the action.
great. Thank you.
Got it? Okay, well, thank you so much for that. Okay, next up, the waiving the tax bill for the refuse district charges for 12 Locust Street. I have the story. Okay, this is the rectory house that's owned by Christ Episcopal Church, right by you. And it was being rented. And now it's not being rented anymore. So what happened was, you know, they sent in the thing for the rental registry. There's no tenant there anymore because the church has reclaimed the house and the new pastor's living there. So it's back under the church.
Yes.
So Steve's removed it from the rental registry. They're a church, but they also have commercial pickup anyway. So it just became like an administrative issue for us internally,
Correct.
you know?
So we were able to speak to Sarek Casella. They removed him from the
They're off.
pickup.
Yeah,
Okay.
The problem is it's too late on my end because
Yeah.
the tax
yeah.
bills are coming.
Yeah.
So they're in there and they have a tax bill, so I need that tax bill waived because I can't, yeah.
Right.
we don't want
But
to.
in this instance, you have sent it out and they're just not gonna pay, so then you waive it and you clean it out, right? And they're not gonna have to pay and then refund.
No, I'm not gonna collect it at all. I just want you to say. Do
Go on
not
record.
collect this tax bill.
Right. When are those collections due?
The collections for the refuge,
Yeah.
they're due the same time your tax bills due. So this is good. You're leading me to one of my items. Village tax bills will be going out by the end of the week. So residents will hopefully receive them by June 1st. It's always very close to that date.
Mhm.
Your refuse district charge is in there. Your tax bill is due with that refuse district charge on July 1st.
On July 1st.
And then you go into a series of penalties if you delay your payment. And I'm going to say, this isn't something we can collect partial, so you can't pay 50% this month and hit me with another 50% next month. It has to be paid in full. So,
Okay, so staying on that topic, so we have a process with 12
Locust.
locusts that I'm perfectly comfortable with. which is we removed somebody from the refuse district.
Mhm.
In this instance, because we went from residential to commercial to non-residential.
Right.
And also it's a church, so it's not taxed,
Right,
you know, so.
They normally don't get a tax bill, this triggered one.
but absent of that, it was a very simple, removed a residential property from
That's gonna-
pickup.
I'll talk to you,
So, I'm okay with this. Do you need a, like, just approval?
Yes, I need approval. I can't
Alright,
waive
So I'll
it.
make a motion to, are we waiving it?
Yes, it was a bill issued in error.
Alright, I make a motion to waive the refuse tax collection for 12 loads.
Second,
Okay, trustee Wilkes.
Aye.
Trustee Coe.
Aye.
Trustee Marshall.
Aye.
Trustee Limbeck.
Aye.
Mayor Plummer.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Could I continue, man?
Oh, yeah, no, I know where you're going, and I think Jeff's got some
Okay,
answers here
yep.
for you.
What do you got?
I don't know if you guys recall, and ladies recall, at the public hearing. One person spoke up and said, I don't use refuse, haulers, I do it myself,
Actually, there were
and
three.
we opt out.
Green Hill Lane,
Well,
Yeah.
Green Hill
I was
Lane.
like, Green Hill,
I know.
and then Jeff Mason too.
You know, and I would argue these are model citizens for the environment, people who create so little refuse that they bring it themselves once a month and or do the.
And then there's another person on State Street who spoke, and then I just received an
Maybe you should
email
know
from
that.
someone who's never used the refuse.
So I think there are.
There's three
unique
total.
Circumstances of residents who are currently in the refuse district that I'd like to give the provision to.
So Jeff's figuring out a way to hang the hat on
Yeah.
this, right?
yeah, I mean, I would, if you're inclined to do it. I would have them, I'd send them the bill. And then at the end of the year. If they have not in fact used another hauler. Which we will know either by word on the street or DPW
Or Steve does rounds, he sees it,
Steve,
yeah, and he'll
um,
know who they are.
and by your residents who say, why is there another? Refuge service in this village,
Mhm.
when I thought we had a district. Then you would refund the tax.
Can they opt out in advance of July 1st? And then can we simply waive, just like we did here with 12 Lucas, the collection? The exact same structure that we just did, can we just, if we get them to send a letter to say that they deny service for the next 3 months, within the next month. Seems.
And then what happens if they start to use a hauler? How do we, what's the mechanism for us if they violated that? In other words, oh no, we take it to the landfill and all of a sudden there's, waste management coming in and picking up their trash.
Yeah, they're not permitted to, I mean, with the creation of a resident district, it'd be a violation that's.
Well, actually, let's think of it. I'm
But-
sorry, refinish.
What's the compliance mechanism?
Well, there's no compliance mechanism anyway.
Well, there wouldn't be, that's the wrong
So
word.
you could, no, so you could pay. $349 and whatever cents. And still get your own hauler.
Correct.
Right, so you wouldn't be able to tell them.
Yeah, it's the same potential risk, it's just whether or not you collected or didn't collect the money, and the penalty would be the same regardless either way.
How would that affect the contract we negotiated with a hauler where other people now are, I just,
It didn't, because it was on a per
Per-
resident.
okay, I'm
basis.
just, I just want,
So in
okay.
the exact same way we're stripping them clean here,
I
we
just
sell the
wanna-
home. We do it within the next 30 days, and so.
I think there's a difference in that. The church is a,
And non-taxable.
an entity for whom taxes is not appropriate, are not appropriate. And these people are in fact in our refuge district. The way that, because it was formed by address. You could redo the district. I think it's just a lot easier to collect the tax and refund it in a year. I mean, it's $300, but
Federal government does that.
well, I think the last time when we first did this. I kind of was confused and felt, and I think you said it was not a correct way to think about it. an individual who does not have children or, you know, their children are grown, how is that any different than them paying school taxes? And saying, well, I'm not using this service because I don't have children,
Exactly.
but they still
It's
pay
a
the
community
tax.
service.
I am not telling you what to do. You know, I'm with that issue. I'm merely telling you that there is a mechanism if you wanted to allow people to do their own garbage rather than having a hauler.
My,
Whereas you
yeah,
can't do your own sewer, right? I think education is uniquely different than,
why,
But I don't know.
why? I don't
You
think
could-
so.
You could do, you know, teacher given home,
Yeah, and you're still paying school
you're
tax.
still paying tax.
That's true.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
mean,
know, there's.
same
like-
thing with insurance. You know, I don't
Yeah.
use my insurance, but I still pay a premium just in case. And it's a community service. We put together a refuse district to benefit the village as a community. And everybody who lives in it has to be a part of the benefit of the community. It's the garbage trucks, it's a lot. It's not just the fact that you're getting your garbage picked up, it's the wear and tear on the streets. It's a community process. So to me, I think everyone that is in our community needs to be a part of that.
And they could always make the decision, you know what, now I don't have to take it to the dump anymore, I can just use this and it's done. They could always
I
make
just
that
think it gets
decision.
sticky when we start picking and choosing.
I don't know, I mean,
Well, also, how long does this, how long would this go? Does it stick with that resident? You know what I mean? Like if they left, would the house still?
Still in district, yeah.
Well, it's still in the district, but would like, would
Not
that
full
resident
time.
have to then call and say, well, now I want the service?
Probably they would.
yeah,
Okay, so the onus is on the new
Well, they're gonna
resident.
pay for the service, so that, you know.
They just wouldn't get.
in my
I just wouldn't get free. Okay,
Yeah.
got it,
Oh, yeah, if we go with that,
gotcha.
yeah,
right.
I think that's cleaner.
But I don't think they're gonna, I don't think they're gonna pay ahead of time. I think that they're,
It's just in your tax bill, it's like paying your state or federal income
I
tax.
agree, but
and you
they're
go,
watching.
oh, I got the check back.
And I think that they're gonna deduct it, because I've talked to a couple of them, they're gonna deduct.
3 or 4
I know,
households,
but
I
they-
know,
they-
I just, I
they
think,
bail.
you know, at the end of the day. You know, I'd like to make it relatively easy on us too,
Sure.
you know.
Next question, I got.
So
three
for
people.
administering this district, and this is something that happens, look, this is the best we can do, you pay in, you get your refund at the end.
All right, so just so that I'm aware, I believe the three of you would like to keep it as is with no ability to exclude, in which case we just move on. Is that right?
That would be my preference. I fully understand and I feel,
I-
because again, they're not trying to go and say,
No
well, I want waste
no
management.
point in wavering, right? If I
Well,
can't be convinced it's okay, I feel like it's the type of service that should be in or out, but that's okay. If you guys, again, John doesn't need to really comment, if the three of you guys are all gonna go.
No, I think people should have the ability, one way or the other.
To be able to opt out,
Yeah, I think administratively, it's relatively clean, but, I understand why you feel the way you feel, so I'll leave it at that.
I think, you know, the idea of having the option either way is interesting, and I go back to the snowbird argument. You know, we're only here half the year. Well, you pay for garbage pickup half the year somewhere else too. You're making a lifestyle choice.
Yeah.
I don't know that we need to be worried about someone's lifestyle choice. You
My
know-
only concern is that it seems like the people that it's affecting.
I see that as different from a
Lifestyle.
snowbird, but I'm
Yeah.
saying if you allow people to kind of opt in or not, I think it kind of opens up
can of
a
worms.
window here.
That's what I'm afraid. of.
And-
Multiple people would be like, well, now I don't.
Right.
And so then you go to renegotiate a contract in a couple of years, like, well, you know, we had a bunch of people opt out, I don't
Yeah.
know. We're not gonna do this. You know, I think, again, you know, it's a district.
Sure.
You know, and
Creates a degree of uncertainty from the.
and
whole
why don't, you know, we
perspective.
can always alter it. We
Change
could
it.
always say, let's try it for the first year. Everybody pays in, you get the 3 houses, get the refund at the end. And if that doesn't work, then we come back to the board and rethink it.
I think what we do as a thought is the next time we go to pricing, instead of saying, hey, it's a per resident basis, it's like for all non-commercial properties, non-industrial properties in the village, what is your rate? We don't do it on a per home basis, and then once we receive it, we distribute it, unless we can't do that.
Sure.
So the idea, but.
So then,
Let me-
contract,
Hang on, attorney speaking.
Here's-
Yoda.
There is an argument that they're not really if they're receiving the benefit from the district. I don't know, Lisa's argument is they are because infrastructure and blah, 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 blah. And I don't mean blah, blah, blah. I mean,
Yeah,
they're-
yeah, all those
very-
benefits
very
to it.
reasons. You know, are they really getting the benefit? Lisa would argue yes. And, you know, I think it's up to the rest of you whether, you know, in Dave's case, Dave would think that you can just waive it at the beginning, or maybe John and the mayor think that you get it back at the end, you know. So, but this is a board decision,
Right.
so it's not a law decision.
We have a refuse district. Could the village essentially assume trash pickup, not have a refuse district? And then
Oh,
embed it in our tax revenue and then just bid it out every year?
I can tell you so many villages who used to do that are like, we will never do that again.
Even on a
To be the
subcontract.
It's can
Even
be
subcontract.
It's a
so,
lot of work to run actual.
it's a
refuse.
big deal.
Well, no, I understand that. I mean, like, just subcontract contract.
You basically would be doing what you're
Same
doing
thing.
right now.
That's what we're
but-
doing.
Okay, so roughly it's the same thing. So sticking with the refuse district idea, then refuse district is all residential properties and it is what it is. And so be it.
Well, at least
Okay.
for the first year, you know, let's
The
get our
contract's 2
sea
years.
legs.
Yeah, let's see how it goes. I mean,
Realistically, how many people do you think are gonna say, I don't want the service?
I mean, that was-
No, no, and that's what I mean.
let's deal with it when it
So-
comes.
We have 3 households that still can get a check at the end of the
Right.
year. One and done. It's our first year, potentially, if this is what the board wants to do,
But
right?
I'm not,
No, not yet,
Not yet.
not yet.
well,
No, not unless the board agrees to that.
That's what I just said. If the board wants to do that, that's,
Right.
to me, I think for the first year, it's the cleanest way to go. You know, we have the district, it's gonna be on your bill, you pay the bill, you sign off that you're not using anybody, the 3 households or whoever. And then if the, you know, if the board, this is what the board wants to do, they get the check.
Well, do we have to make that decision now? If we're not gonna give them a check to
I'm
the end
gonna
of the year?
say you do.
We do, because we're implementing the
Because,
district.
let me,
Yep.
it comes down to, and for me, it's always finance. If I don't know right now that
Right.
we don't want them to have refuse, you know, if we're gonna allow them to opt out,
Mhm.
I have to notify SAREC and get them off that thing, because we're gonna get charged.
June 1st.
It's June
What's
1st.
June 1st?
So we're coming to this
It's like
late to
next
the
week.
deal, so I'd have to get something, and I'm gonna want them, Jeff, to create something they sign off on that says da, da, da,
Yeah, you're not gonna use the,
right, that you're not
Yeah.
gonna use it, you're not gonna have a hauler come in, you're not gonna do that, so I can issue, so I have something in hand to cancel that. And that way we don't get charged, so let's say we bring it back in July, I'm already gonna be charged by SAREC for a month of service for these residents.
Again, I'm sorry, you guys. We had a public hearing and we made it clear that we are a district and no one can opt out. Now, all of a sudden, it's gonna somebody's gonna get wind that, oh, we let 3 people opt out. I mean, I'm
gonna be honest,
afraid.
with
I'm afraid of that. I just don't think that that's good practice. It's non-transparent.
I was arguing it that day and I've been arguing it.
Well, yeah, but it didn't pass. It didn't pass that day.
I'm sorry, David, I didn't hear what you said. I'm sorry.
I mean, I'm in agreement with Lisa. I mean,
We have a
I do,
district.
I believe it's
District.
been enough time. Unfortunately, look, again, I think they are doing the right thing. I love composting and, you know, but you are getting tangible benefits of.
Right, there's a lot more,
infrastructure.
right, there's a
Well,
lot
now
more
we
than
have
just that.
recycling every single week, you
Yeah.
know, everybody
like-
in the village has pick up every single week of recycling.
The
So-
benefit of a district is not just getting the trash picked up, it is all the other things as to what is gonna benefit their eventual tax bill,
Because the cost that we were spending
cost.
to fix the roads.
Right.
will Hopefully go down,
right?
which lowers their tax bill.
Hopefully.
Well, that's
That's kind of
Right.
my view.
That's what I look
It's a
at.
bill problem.
Right, the infrastructure wear and tear.
I would say let this year, okay, this is just your.
So
Just
I-
keep talking.
if I'm
Okay, I
understanding, I
agree.
think I'm reading the tea leaves, let's move on.
Okay, but hang
Real
on,
quick,
Well-
you just,
hang on, our clerk would like to speak.
Sorry.
all I'm saying is let this year go as is, see how much of difficulty it is, and then before we do the next round next year, then look to change
Yeah, get her
it. That way we
realized.
can put everything in place by the time the tax bill comes out and
Yes.
everything is cleaner.
Yes.
I like clean.
Yeah, okay.
And then it's more transparent, because then we can bring it up, so everyone knows that this is what we're doing. And we'll see if this opens up a can of worms. I mean, I'm just saying that it's not fair to let all the residents here know we're all in a district, and then have some people opt out, so.
Yeah.
I
So we
think
can bring it back in the fall, and if you want to look at it, and take a look at it at budget time, and we can pass and change.
So we kind of had the refuse district update, didn't we? I do want to say, and I know we had a resident who was concerned because, you know, everybody had for their trash totes upgraded to the larger 96 gallon tote. I couldn't shut my storage area because it's larger. So I just called Casella and I said, can you give me the same tote back, the 64 gallon? They said, of course. So they're gonna swap it out tomorrow. So I think that's, you know, we can put that out again in another bulletin to villagers.
Yeah.
Wait, who did you call?
I called Sarah first and they said, call Casella because now they've transitioned enough to enable Casella to switch it
Okay,
out.
so who are we supposed to call?
I would start calling Casella. That worked for me.
Okay. But I think I've been telling people to call Sayred.
No,
Okay,
initially we were supposed to.
yeah, okay. so
And
now-
I think it'll.
That's why it's going out in the bulletin, and that's part of the refuse district update
Yeah,
that we're doing this very moment, real
Yeah,
time.
it keeps changing, I realize,
It's a
because.
transition.
yeah, this acquisition
transition-
wasn't planned.
I say call both of them and just annoy them.
Well, that's what I did. I
Okay.
called both. And both of them were really great, and I had it resolved within about 15 minutes, you know? Okay. Oh, and we already did item 12, wow. Treasurers report?
So the update was just.
Yeah, this is kind of where we are,
Okay,
you know,
all right.
it's-
And
let's
then,
do
nothing
first, you know.
yeah, June
Okay,
first,
nothing.
maybe we should be seeing the pickup.
Okay.
You need me for the resolution?
You know, should we do executive session then maybe first?
Before member items and bill pay?
Well, just because you don't need to be here for any of that, so.
Okay.
Yeah,
Can I ask them reference before we go to that?
Oh, yeah.
Have they told us what days?
Mondays.
Monday.
so, yeah, it's been out, went out in
Every day's
the
Monday.
bulletins, yep.
That would be a reminder that we sent out letters to all the households,
For the,
and
right after the weekend.
if you looked at the letter we sent you, please turn it over. There's valuable information as well on the back.
I figured it'd be picked up at some point, and I would figure it out later.
Okay, I make a motion, we go into executive session for the purpose of discussing an HR issue.
Second.
Oh, that was
Dave,
a stereo.
didn't get you. It's John.
All
right. Trustee Limbeck,
Aye.
trustee Marshall, trustee Wiltz.
Aye.
Trustee Coe.
Aye.
Mayor Plummer.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay,
Okay,
Yeah, who's online? How many?
right now, we're down to 4.
okay. We're gonna hit the pause here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're good. I make a motion, we leave executive session.
A second?
Trustee Marshall,
Aye.
trustee Limbeck,
Aye.
trustee Coe,
Aye.
trustee Wiltz,
Aye.
Mayor Plummer.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay.
I make a motion that we give Sean Beazer or Geezer.
Beazer, B-E-A-S.
Beazer, like I said, % $1 an hour raise.
Second.
Okay, trustee Wilkes.
Aye.
Trustee Coe. Aye. Trustee Limbeck.
Aye.
Trustee Marshall.
Aye.
Mayor Plummer.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Make a motion that we make an offer to Peter Bessie as gardener laborer at his prior rate. And does this need to be conditional upon, the
His acceptance, how do we do this?
He's already,
new hire state, like
The background.
the background
Background
checks?
checks.
no, he's already been through it.
And waive prior background check
Yeah.
requirements,
Physical and homeworks.
et cetera.
Second,
Okay, trustee Limbeck.
aye.
Trustee Wilkes.
Aye.
Trustee Marshall.
Aye.
Trustee Coe.
Aye.
Mayor Plummer.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Oh, thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Anything else for
Thank you,
Jeff
Jeff.
before we release him to the universe?
I guess just one quick thing, the Gaskin Award. So where are we with that? Are we gonna just wait for them to come?
That they're giving, so. Yeah.
Thank you.
Jeff, you might have an opinion on one of my, member items.
Oh,
Are we doing member items or are we trying to?
are you done? No, you're.
Oh, I got a full slate.
Can I just throw?
So, yeah, yeah,
Do it real
yeah,
quick.
while we have
Alright,
that.
Jeff, my question is, Bob Ford Field, the Little League, started, went down and.
Oh,
Yeah, we got canceled, sorry, thank you.
I know.
Yeah, it was nice to say hi, say, play ball or whatever, but we got rained out. But it reminded me of something we spoke about a couple of years ago, which is. That field is really integral to families in our community and bringing them into our village for, in this case, Little League. But it's such a quintessential small field, and park. That I don't believe right now that land is designated as a park, and I don't even know if we own. What portion of it at any, if any.
You don't know anything.
We don't know anything.
Isn't it, but it's Canal Corp and Argini, right?
No, I think it's
Canal Corp owns some of it.
Little League,
Mm,
I think they lease.
they lease from Canal Corp,
yeah.
and I think something from Argini.
So,
What's a long term?
so I don't know who to direct, and this is something that I have to ask Steve for, but where do I go to obtain the, property owner, and figure out who it is, like who owns what piece and what, because what I'd like to maybe do is designate that a park, like what we did with the Northwest Quadrant, so that we know it's going to forever be used as a.
Well, we own the Northwest
You
Quadrant.
can't do that if you don't own.
Yeah.
That's right, so this
So-
goes back to, we've seen in the past, municipalities and private residents acquire land from Canal Corp.
Mhm.
There's also a possibility that you could enter into an extended lease, I suspect, with RG&E. And so I just want to solidify this as a park as best we can, and I don't feel like we've done much about it
Protect it.
to protect.
I would think that we'd also want to see what the Little League has negotiated, if anything, I mean, if they already have something in place, I mean,
And I just don't know where to start with that.
I would start with the Little League, and if you have questions about property ownership, it would be Steve, and also our village engineer would probably.
Yeah.
Scott would probably
And
have,
the assessment.
yeah, and the
Town
assessor,
assessor.
yep, and the assessor, those,
Those are the four?
yep,
Okay, great, let's move on with that. Thank you.
Great, Dave, that's.
yeah,
We good?
That's all I had.
thank you.
Right.
I have one,
Oh,
real quick. I don't know if you're, I don't know.
She was at the
I don't know
door.
if you need to be here. I'll make this quick. So. So as far as, I just want to know, now that we've passed short-term rental legislation, what do we do as far as sending letters to the owners that are not allowed, quote, to have a business in the districts that have not been approved? Are we sending letters to all those people that we know? And is that something that you have to do? Because technically, we've got to let them know that now they need to move forward on, either coming with a hardship or
Mhm.
selling. So where is our next steps for that to make sure that we are protected?
I mean, I think you could be proactive and
Mhm.
put them on notice of where we are. We passed legislation that their pre-existing use is going to be terminated in 15 months, subject to any hardship application that they might make.
So, we can draft it here internally. Maybe you can vet it, just make sure we're saying all the right language. And,
Doesn't hurt.
Yeah, I think it would just be good.
yeah, and I
You
think,
know, if any future lawsuit, that would be
Right.
yeah, and I think too, also, and then we can maybe have Steve be the contact if there's additional information required, just as the initial contact for anybody. So that'll be the action items.
Then we'll do that administratively.
Mhm, yeah, we can do it internally.
Okay. That's it.
Are we really gonna release Jeff? Thank you.
I just don't like listening to, finance reports. I'm just kidding.
Actually, I do have one more, I'm sorry, real
Oh
quick,
my
again.
goodness. But wait, there's more.
So the zoning update that we did with zoning and planning, remember those just like updates that they wanted to put in the code, just the STR and the pieces that they wanted
Yeah,
to
we
embed
did.
it?
I put the,
You're saying use tables?
Yeah.
Yes,
And the- oh,
yes, the use tables that they recommended, where are we with that?
did I do something on?
I don't know, we'll have to talk to you because I gotta file that with the state.
Oh, that's right. Let's follow up. That'll be an internal follow-up then. That's the action item, where it is, because that's not my whiteboard too, I think.
Oh, no, we made the code change that they wanted, we didn't put it in the use tables.
no.
So it's updating the use tables.
Okay,
Okay,
and that's in.
Good catch.
internally?
I'll talk to Jeff.
Yeah.
Okay,
admin.
Does the board want me to draft that legislation? Have I already been authorized?
Yeah.
All right, so maybe I can get it done in time to, when's the board doing the,
And
I don't know.
LOR?
June 10th.
10th.
June 10th.
Okay.
what's June 10th?
our next short meeting,
Oh, that's right.
to do the bills saying the
Okay.
LOR.
LOR,
And then-
LOR bill
In the bill.
and the public hearing.
Well,
Yeah, the bills.
I mean, I could have it ready in time to age. So that I can go-
Oh, the use tables need to age, the general code changes they made at the meeting.
Right,
You need-
right, but I was
you-
just talking about getting it ready to age to send to the public hearing.
Sure.
Sure.
I'm confused.
Well, it's another local law to change the use tables.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah, you're fine.
So is that enough time for you? Okay.
I don't think-
Okay.
Yeah, it would be the
Just like
10th
that.
and then,
Similar to what I do to the LOR.
Okay.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's it, I promise.
I can figure out where
I'm keeping my mouth shut.
Any more?
Going, gone. I know.
Auction.
I know you guys really don't want me to talk.
We always do.
Okay,
Thanks again, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right.
all right, so I have a bill pay in front of you. This one's a little hefty. It's $134,721.73. I'm saying that because that's a big number, much more than normal. And that reflects the work on Rand.
Yeah.
For the lining of the sewer.
Yeah, that's
So.
scandalous.
I like to read the really big ones because I don't happen that often. Outside of that, there's really nothing too disconcerting in here for me. I don't know if anybody has any questions.
Any questions for Drew?
So just for, again, public transparency, in the security system, we have 50% for the camera, which is a $10,000 cost to us, as well as security system, the access system is another $10,000.
Right, that's the remaining amount of the
Mhm.
cost of that.
Want to make sure that
Like, I commented on stuff this
Yeah.
morning.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
and then just the
Resolution.
The Scanix pipe, that's the one that was over,
Yep.
and when, I think, that's the first I've heard about that. What exactly was that? It's $81,000.
Annex?
Yeah, what is, oh,
We had
meeting.
leaks in the sewer system over by Rand
okay,
and Jefferson Road.
Jefferson, yeah,
And rather than just fixing that section, it was determined that we should go from North Main Street. It was almost 1,100 feet of
Okay.
piping that got relined.
Uh.
They line the pipe, they heat seal it, and then they go in and reattach or core out the, from each home. And puts about 25 years onto the
so
system.
that was an unexpected cost, obviously,
It
right?
was.
And where do we get the money for that?
That's how to.
Price to do it,
Okay, okay,
based on doing the
Mhm.
whole thousand plus feet.
And, you know, it's aging infrastructure is really
Yeah,
what we're
yeah.
dealing with,
Well,
so.
back to tree were coming
It
into.
was
like,
incredible.
Yeah.
I know, they were,
Wow.
that was amazing.
All right. That's all I have.
Yeah. Okay, is there a motion?
Motion to approve the bill pay as presented.
Second,
Okay, trustee Wills.
Aye.
Trustee Coe.
Aye.
Trustee Limbeck.
Right.
Trustee Marshall.
Aye.
Mayor Plummer.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, in your agenda, you have HSA, but I'm skipping ahead.
Okay.
I handed out to those who were able to get it, the financial report. This is for April, and I'm just gonna hit the highlights because
Mhm.
I'm starting to know the ending of the village story for the year for.
Yeah, it's coming together.
So with knowing that we got another 165 in Monroe County sales tax in May, we had left to collect in our unearned balance 136,000. So the good news is we've made our revenues for the year
Which is good.
and a little more, because
Yeah.
we still have the month of May, the collection hasn't recorded, so we exceeded our revenue expectations.
The projection.
And that, yeah, projections, and that's partially to do some refund of prior year expenses, some other things, use of ARPA, there's other things that contributed to it, but the good news is we've made our revenues. So now we get to what's happening with the budget. There's a few negatives, and I did provide a budget transfer.
Mhm.
Nothing too substantial, it's not as bad as past years. May is usually the one where I have to move a lot of numbers. Right now, the discussion I needed to have with the board is the request for a leaf machine
Yeah.
that was made. Oh, I needed to say, Jeff.
Oh,
Okay, that's fine. I'll deal with Jeff,
yeah.
because there's two ways to go about this, and this is something he was supposed to look into, and I don't think he has yet, because he's been a little busy, is to go into that purchasing agreement, that co-op.
Oh, yeah, the cooperative agreement.
The cooperative
Mhm, yeah.
agreement to buy the leaf machine, which was around 95,000.
Mhm.
So looking at what we have left to spend in our general fund budget, we're at the end of April at $543,734 and some change. So that means we have that full funding available because we got all our revenues
Revenues.
in, okay? So we didn't budget for the leaf. We
Here this
need to
year,
replace
yeah.
the leaf machines, so you don't have to worry about communication, getting an urgent text out to people that it's broke.
Dave, what's wrong with the leaf?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
So
we should be able to text.
So what's the
Small leaf
cost of the
machines.
leaf machine?
the last quote I seen was around 95,000. So if I maneuver budget lines, including the tentative, and I'd say at this point, it's not gonna happen, the funding of the reserves for infrastructure and equipment, and move that some other lines, some bigger lines that have some funds available,
Mhm.
we can go ahead with the leaf machine. But I need to know the board wants me to do that.
So you could take a motion to spend up to $95,000 on the leaf machine from the appropriate fund.
Yeah, the key to this,
Mhm.
is also I can get it through this cooperative. If I can't,
Right,
Okay,
the problem is I have to issue a PO before the end of May to use this
Alright.
year's budget.
so how do you want the motion to, like, how do you wanna cover it?
$95,000 from the.
Give me a little
through
more
the-
leeway.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Give me a
Okay.
little, give me up to 100 grand.
Okay,
Alright.
you make the motion.
So I'll make a motion that we spend up to $100,000 purchasing the leaf machine through the cooperative agreement.
Second,
Trustee Wilkes.
Aye.
Trustee Marshall.
Aye.
Trustee Coe.
Aye.
Mayor Plummer.
Aye.
Motion passes. Now, the second part of this, if I can't get it through the cooperative
Mhm.
agreement, we can't get a leaf machine before the budget end because we are literally at
Right.
the last week.
Mhm.
This money will end up in fund balance. What the board can do in next year's budget is go ahead and agree to take money from fund balance and purchase the machine.
Oh, I see, just
Okay,
as the next,
just so you don't mess with next year's tabulations, it just, it very well might work out. We don't need to take it from the fund balance. We've had that happen with many items in the budget.
I mean, it's
So-
effectively retained earnings. So,
Right.
okay,
So That's the good news is we're coming within budget all the way around the board. I think we are gonna have a surplus. I don't see May being anything surprising. I haven't seen anything
Yeah.
shocking. So I'm hoping we're gonna.
So either way, we get the leaf machine, it's just whether or not this.
Whether or not I can get it done this
Time.
week,
'Cause we need
it's
to-
timing.
Yeah.
It really is timing. Okay,
Okay,
so
so,
the rest of what I need is, let me go to sewer real quick. So if I touch one fund, I'm gonna touch the other. Okay, so sewer and the revenues, we still have another billing going out, and I anticipate that billing to be around 150, 140 range. That's typically where it lands. That goes out early July or late June. It's part of the closeout of the financials. It goes back to May, because it's servicing May.
mhm,
Okay. So with that said, right now. Sewer is sitting with spending 295,000, so. It should come in within budget. We shouldn't need to use any fund balance, if not as much as we anticipated to use. We budgeted to use fund balance. I don't foresee a big deal with that.
Sorry, say one more time, the expected revenue.
Between 140 and 150.
Got it.
So it's coming in. It should wash out. We should be able to.
okay.
Okay, is there any questions? I didn't even have a lot of time to review the financials. If you don't want to approve them tonight, that's fine. I can bring them back for the next meeting. I know it's really short notice.
Yeah, I'm good.
I mean, that's the basic gist.
I'm very confident in terms of the revenues coming in. If that's the case, I'm confident.
Just line by line, not the point. But I do need approval of the financials and approval for the budget transfers that were included.
Yep,
Can you do that all in one?
You
motion?
can.
Make a motion to accept the financial report and the budget transfers as reported.
Second,
Okay. Trustee Wilkes,
aye.
trustee Limbeck,
Aye.
trustee Marshall.
Aye.
Trustee Coe.
Aye.
Mayor Plummer.
aye.
Motion passed. Thank you on that. The good stuff. Now the HSA fundings. This is the second part of the fundings we do for the healthcare. As of June 1, so what this is the second part. So if you can go to the last line, view 6-1, that's what I need approval. Go ahead and put into people's bank account. That actually comes out of next year's budget. But because we don't have a meeting prior to next year's budget, I need to get it done.
That's the HSA stuff.
Yes.
Dorothea, who's Melissa Schramm?
Melissa Schramm is the admin laborer down at DPW.
And she's full-time.
Yes, she is.
Make a motion to approve as presented.
Second,
Okay, trustee Marshall, trustee Coe.
Aye.
Trustee Limbeck,
Aye.
trustee Wilkes.
Aye.
Mayor Plummer.
Aye.
Motion passes. Oh, and I'm not done yet. Next up is the Zoglin agreement. This was their retainer agreement for the upcoming budget year. And I need authorization for the mayor to sign the agreement.
I had a whole bunch of questions about this.
Is this something we'd like to?
If you look on the second page, the non-routine PZBA work,
Mhm.
I found 4 items that I think they're excluding that should be absolutely part of their retainer fees. I don't know if you want to get into the 4, but I just think we're getting shortchanged.
Well, the board would like to have the mayor talk to Mindy about this.
Yeah, no, if you've got questions, of course.
Just in my 30 years of planning board work, these 4 items are stuff that we would expect as a normal course from an attorney.
John, which ones are they?
Yeah.
It would be
if you
this,
can go through
the third one, draft routine resolutions regarding applications. That's something I'm gonna be working on with the planning board.
Mhm.
If you go down to council PZBA with respect to its obligations on the New York open meeting laws, where they have draft comment on or revised proposed legislation or zoning amendments. Again, I think she's in the best place to do that as opposed to the board. The one right below it, evaluate the extent to which proposed zoning amendments may affect issues within the jurisdiction. Again, that's routine. And then the one directly below that, attend attorney-client meetings with PZBA to develop a strategy to address legal issues related to applications that might be contested. Who better than the board's attorney to counsel you on those things?
Okay. And also, circle, maybe, you can be on the discussion with Mindy as well.
Okay, then I'll bring this back to the next agenda.
Yeah, well, let's give the attorney an opportunity to respond. And, bring it back.
Do we have a similar understanding of Jeff's retainer agreement and what is included in routine or not, or is it specifically and uniquely different to planning and zoning?
I've never seen Jeff's
Never have I.
fee
You've
schedule.
seen it.
Well, then I have seen it, but I don't
Yeah.
remember it in.
Oh, yeah, no, it's not in this format at
Yeah,
all.
okay.
Jeff's, yeah. Gordon
Um,
Reed's,
I think it's a long time ago.
yeah.
I'll circle back with
Yeah,
Jeff.
let's circle
It's an
back.
idea for the. For the
No, no,
people
no.
Looking at this, it might be of interest.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Mhm.
Very clean.
It's very clean.
Mhm.
Yeah, this one is very clean. You know what you're getting, you're not getting.
That's all I have, unless I can produce some more paperwork here.
Oh, please don't.
No.
Okay. I'm just writing this down. All right, anybody else have number items?
Yeah, I've got a couple.
Okay.
I've gotten two requests from residents. One regarding 9 South Main Street, and I wasn't here when this was negotiated, the bar.
Mhm.
In reading through the minutes for that, the board was very emphatic that they
Mhm.
wanted food served. And from what I understand, there's no kitchen. And then it was a little confusing to me because in the minutes it said the board asked the building inspector for a recommendation.
Mhm.
So I don't know the history of it, so I don't know how to respond.
So they were issued a permit with the fact that they had to serve food, period. And, they were talking about the menu, the whole beef on wet moments. And they are not in compliance, and so they are receiving a notice of violation.
Okay.
Hmm.
Perfect. And the second one was 41 South Main Street, Colliers. Again, they've got outdoor seating on Lincoln and on South Main Street. And I didn't know what the process was for outdoor seating.
It meets the egress and it's within I know Steve went out and looked at it.
Okay, they don't need a special permit or
No.
anything for outdoor
No.
seating. Okay, so it's in compliance.
I think the way I heard that was, as long as it is not interrupting the flow of foot traffic, right? Wasn't it?
You have to have 3 feet or more,
Yeah,
Mhm.
and they are in compliance on both
So
sides
on
of the
on
building.
Lincoln, they're okay with.
Mhm.
yeah. for like
Yeah, he actually
wheelchairs,
physically measured it.
stroller.
He physically measured
And I
it.
think that's, I mean, these are the sorts of things that create more vitality
Exactly.
that I like. I just want to make sure, like,
Right.
this goes to the same thing as signage, right?
Exactly,
If there's things that we want that our code is saying don't do,
and change the.
then instead of being relaxed on code enforcement, change the code.
Exactly.
And this way I can go back and say that they're code compliant. and
Yep.
everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
The third thing that I've got is really getting disturbing to me, and I don't want to take a shot, but networking
Nikon.
meeting, and it's really getting old because I'm getting emails now. I think I've gotten 20 from ICOM vendors coming to my personal
Oh, I
email.
know, they got everybody's
And-
email, I know, I
and
delete them all.
Because, well, it's not only
No,
that, but
No.
with
I-
the Zach issue, now I'm foilable if anything happens. With my personal email. So I know it's coming, but
We have some real issues with this. one.
Yeah. Expressed my dissatisfaction to all the parties involved, and I was told we were gonna have resolution as of 2 weeks ago. That didn't happen.
So I'll make a call tomorrow morning.
The
Well-
gentleman will be here again tomorrow. The gentleman was here and I talked to him today.
That was the guy.
That's Emergentile. He's with our new IT company.
Oh, I didn't realize the whole connection.
Yeah,
Sorry. I didn't
So,
realize
yeah,
that.
there's been a few slip ups and
What time will he be back tomorrow?
he's gonna be here by 8.
I mean, it's to the point now where I think, give me an old email address and wait till it gets changed, because.
I can't even do that.
Everything is so, I'll be here, then I'm not gonna leave for NICOM. I wanna be here and talk to the staff.
That's okay. I want you to do NICOM. I will handle it.
I'm-
I can be very hardcore.
I know you, I've seen her in action.
Are they saying that the issue is primarily related to the .gov switch?
It's part of the .gov. It's moving to Microsoft, moving the
Yeah, it's a big
emails from
migration.
the existing. The problem I have with that is I'm looking for a brand new email. It's not caught in, it's not mine.
Yeah,
That's, you're creating a new.
It's,
why can't he just get an email?
you
That's what
just
don't
need, I just
understand.
need, and this is what I've said. So
Create a new account. Have it be john@thevillage@gmail.com.
Some random
Just
thing for
something
now.
random.
All right, I just
Do a
didn't want to
separate-
step on toes.
No,
Create a unique email
Okay.
that you use, that if you get foiled, it starts.
I had the same issue when I took office and I ended up doing a Gmail just really quickly.
Right.
Yeah.
That was just completely separate.
I am
For that
going
reason.
to,
And then just let us know and we'll.
as soon as I can
And
get
then we'll push in the.
Yeah, this is very frustrating because I miss
Oh.
the days where I could just go in and
Right,
do an email within 5
yeah,
minutes.
no,
And I
that's what I
don't
said,
have that capability anymore.
I don't.
No, I'm
Not at this point.
Not throwing stones.
No, I know.
It's
And I've said it 10 times over and I've called them and I've said.
Card. But he can't have an
I
email on a
can't get to
business
the
card.
carrots until I get the email. It's a chain.
And if you're doing business card, that's kind of fun, too.
Really? Send me what you'd like on your
Yeah.
business
Oh,
card.
wait.
But just have it look like
David.
John's.
Yeah, okay, I guess we'll.
Can we get name tags?
Didn't you get any?
You got an email.
No,
Yeah.
they were, it was
Oh, yeah.
just a,
I'll take this.
Alexander said it was-
You're dealing with people.
Gets a name tag.
we didn't get a good name tag, we got a temporary one.
Okay, all right.
All right.
I felt very, you know.
Everybody wants free.
Okay.
Okay,
I will order name tags before the end of the year, so it hits the current year budget, because you know that one has some money in it.
Can we
I
have a
will
little
order,
Village of Pittsburgh sign
hang
on
on,
it?
hang
Or
on.
name
hang
tag?
on.
No, really, it looks so nice.
Let her finish. Just give her a minute.
we'll,
Make sure that they're cheap. everyone.
I'd like to think I'm running a meeting.
we'll get business cards for everybody, we'll get name tags for everybody. Anything else in the planet you would like?
Yeah,
Wow, world peace.
did you hear my little logo on the name tag, the Village of Pittsburgh logo?
Sure.
Okay,
Make it happen.
She'll say yes to anything at this point.
okay.
Okay.
All right,
I'm done.
you're done. Okay. Okay, thank you, John. I know.
Let's just go this.
Okay.
I know.
Okay, I have two, real quick. We talked a little bit about notifying residents of board openings. Are we gonna send out email, but like, how are we gonna do that? I really think it's important. I mean, it's probably, we'll try to get it in the newsletter as to like every year around April, things come up, you know, just so residents know, but
Go ahead.
We've had it on the website. It got lost in the reformatting. We're trying to get things up. They were working on it last week.
It's always on the website.
But we will get it back up on the website, Facebook. I'm looking at the gentleman right across the way. He's gonna help my staff create a Facebook page that can't be inundated and disgusting. We'll get it up there as soon as we get a Facebook page. And I think you were planning on doing a constant contact.
Yeah, yeah, we
Okay,
put it up
great.
periodically in
Good, good.
bulletins too, so, you know.
and then the last one, welcome packet. I know I talked about that. Where are we with that? Do we need to form a little, somebody can get it together? Like, where are we?
You know what, I'm gonna ask Laura just to take a look at what was done. Because we have a skeleton outline of a welcome packet.
Yeah, I kind of have an idea. what that
Yeah,
is.
I'm pretty sure, because I don't wanna reinvent a wheel. I
Oh,
think I just need to
absolutely.
update.
The town sends out a.
Do they?
welcome.
Do they?
I know, I got one.
No, we used to as well. I mean, this isn't like, oh my gosh,
Yeah,
we've never heard of the idea.
So it's
It,
almost like.
it has been dropped over the years and then it's, whatever happened to all the information? How do we update that? That's where we are right now.
Yeah.
So we have an archivist who can go through records very quickly and see where we left off
Perfect.
and what we can do to update it.
Alright.
Tim
So-
Valley had spearheaded that, and I have.
Yeah, Tim did, yeah.
And I have some copies of his old stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys may too. But
That's
I
why we
think-
have the archivist, because
Yeah.
she can go back in.
So
Well,
yeah.
maybe put it on the agenda if you. want
Yeah,
to
and I'd be happy to help. if
That'd be
there's
great.
some- Yeah, I would.
That'd be
be happy
great.
to
I would
help.
take it one step
way.
further, and I would actually, as we get new members or new residents, I would, as a trustee, go out and knock on it
That's
and
what
say.
Hand it to
Yeah,
them.
that's what I mean. I didn't know if it was still on the agenda.
Everybody, no, we can
We
rotate
have a lot of,
trustees.
especially new residents,
Yeah,
no idea.
Yeah.
Like, even have.
Well, let's start with picking up what we have internally.
I just want to say something. I am so glad to hear everybody volunteering to kick in.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. That is really great,
Yeah.
honestly.
No, true.
That means a lot. 100%. We have a working board.
We'll
that
get
does
what
that.
was done in the past, and I
Yep.
think we updated the letter and it was approved at one time. We'll pull that
Let's,
all in.
let's just see
We
where
could
we
even
left
put
off.
business cards in there.
Oh, good idea.
No, they
Okay, I-
an accurate business cards right now are mine and they're not
That
going.
was a shot.
I know it was.
You know, I wanted to say, okay, what are other member items? Okay,
Okay,
David.
and super quick, just one, I had a resident reach out about a sidewalk issue, like a dangerous sidewalk. Few of those, for that, I was a little bit like, is this a Steve issue, or is this a DPW issue? What's the best plan of action for a resident if they?
I would say the best plan of action is to hit the village office.
Yes. I'll build-
Always call the office,
Call the
no matter
office.
what, no matter what. There's such a clearinghouse for any information and can redirect as needed.
Because we'll distribute it where it needs to go. We have the
Yeah.
directive way.
Okay, because
The
I
other
think they
thing-
had mentioned.
You've got to realize too, that to tell them that
Yes,
you can't claim that it's, let's say you slip and fall. If you haven't notified the village that it's a dangerous situation, you're kind of SOL.
Exactly, okay, and so, because this person had mentioned that they had, called, but it's still.
It might have been looked at by the DPW and determined not an issue, but
Okay.
let me know the address and I'll speak to them directly.
but on anything like that, we actually have,
We should
everything is
have time,
closed out and there's records and we see what the follow.
right? And there should have been a
So-
follow-up to the resident answer.
So if you can give more
Yeah, okay.
specific information to the office, then we can track that down.
And
Sure.
that means safety out of law.
Yep, that's awesome. So 6 of my member items have been discussed tonight already, which is.
So there's only 6 more left?
I only have 6, well, it was a few things, but I won't get into it. What I did want to say was, having been in Boston over the weekend, and I missed Memorial Day parade, it was lovely. But walking on the Freedom Trail, right, and having wayfinding creates an environment where I feel like if we could put together and have a packaged historical tour, whether or not it's marked in the sidewalk somehow, marked on the, however we may do that. You know, we've done stenciling, once a year, if you re-stencil sidewalks as a path, and somebody could, maybe it's not on their phone, right? But somewhere you can log in on the website and it's like walking to or self-guided or something.
There actually is one, and Historic Pittsburgh has one, and I would recommend that we circle back with Historic Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Who could help us with that? We don't have a lot of, that's a big thing to do.
Yeah.
So I would like to partner with an
Yeah.
organization that really would like to help us, and maybe also our village historian.
That sounds great. So we'll
Yeah.
start with that. And we'll just see where we can go with that. But does this board, would they support, if it costs a little bit of money, some sort of wayfinding on the sidewalks, like? or-
Sure.
Well, I'd like to look at something, maybe whether it's on the sidewalk or not. I mean, I think we
Or
can
maybe
take a
like-
look at a
Yeah,
number of
maybe
things.
you have a wrapping around a small portion of telephone poles. so
That's
that
why we
you, like,
can research. a
Go to
number
the
of
red,
things. Yeah.
follow the red
Mhm.
telephone pole.
For example, I don't know if you were aware, the Historic Pittsburgh a few years back did a walking tour for specific properties in the village. And they just had, you could just scan the barcode,
Yeah.
you know,
So how
and there was a
long
little
might-
picture. So that's what I'm saying,
Yeah,
maybe
Historic Pittsburgh.
Historic Pittsburgh might be kind of the starting place,
Okay.
because they're really good at that. They
Okay.
really know what they're doing.
Speaking of historic Pittsburgh, they do have coming up sometime in June, I think, the cemetery tour with a lot of the kids.
Yeah.
I saw something on that on Facebook, no doubt.
I missed that.
The only other thing that I really wanted, well, 2 things I want to talk about tonight. And one had to do with the bar, which is, I'm not a huge fan of extending the bar district or tavern overlay district up into, you know, the entirety of the downtown traditional district, nor out to the edges of the community of Shane Place near residents. But I do like the idea of a lounge district, which is this somewhere in between. It's not a restaurant and it's not a bar till 2 o'clock. Maybe it's you can do liquor only, you can do drinks only, it could be a coffee shop, tea shop with liquor at the same time, or booze, right? They can stay open till 10 and have an overlay district, and maybe have it also be embedded in some sort of restaurant district where if you meet these standards, you're permitted, rather than having to go through the special permit to get these things done. Because right now, if I'm a tenant looking at a property and I see all these permitted uses, and one of them says special permit, which is the restaurant or something else, guess what? I'm looking at everything else first, right? The ease of access and entry into the community. And again, you want to be careful, that's why it's an overlay district and not the entire district. But I like the idea of exploring a lounge district and a restaurant district.
Would you be able to see what other communities are doing with lounge districts or anything like that? Is there anything out
I'm
there?
making this name up.
You know, I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's why I'm just saying, I've never heard of anything like that, so I'm just curious.
It's just a way to allow something like the.
I
tequila
understand your
bar.
discussion of it. I understand, you
Yeah.
know, where you're going with it. I just,
Take over, if you wanna keep putting it on the agenda,
You know.
if I get no work done, drop it. But if every week you wanna put it on there, I'd like to explore it like we did with the trees last year,
Mhm.
where you just keep throwing my name at it. And we keep having the discussion, and either we kill it or we move forward.
okay, yeah, why not?
So lounge district every month, not every.
Yeah, type in, lounge/restaurant overlay district. And just have it be an open-ended, Dave can lead that thing.
And if you get any information beforehand, make sure you send it
If
to us.
I get no
Take a look at
information,
it.
Yeah.
bury it and just put it to the next.
And you'll give me a little write-up for.
Yeah, for each
Yeah,
one.
there you go.
what
The
you
other
think.
one is,
Along with a business card.
as a village, I think it would be neat to host an event. Or have an event that we sponsor somehow. That could be supporting a prize, right? But I had an idea that I think would be awesome. A sidewalk art day, where across. the
Tell me again?
Sidewalk art. So across the entire village, for $500 first prize, or $1,000 first prize. I don't know how you do that, maybe you go out and you donate, you get some private money to sponsor the event, right? Because municipalities have sponsorships all the time, right? All the time, maybe not ours, but there are certainly sponsors of municipal events, right? Where you create an environment where artists come and throughout the community are doing art on a 4x4 sidewalk square,
You mean like chalk art
Chalk
type
art.
of thing? Mhm.
right? You could have 2 or 3 per street, and so to see them
Oh,
all,
like on the banks of the Seine.
So it would be the artists would come and make that.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought you were saying it was like a competition for like the kids could like.
No,
do
so
one
so
drawing
you
or-
basically have a sponsored art real-time event throughout an art show throughout the day, throughout the entire community. As a way to just invite people in, I don't know, I'm
Okay.
not an event sponsor, I'm-
So I've got a question. I mean, I like the idea,
Yeah.
because I'm thinking of very creative ways that we could celebrate the 200-year bicentennial. And maybe that could be something that we could incorporate into that weekend. Maybe on the Saturday before before the big day, but I mean, I like it. I'm also thinking of maybe doing a dock decorating contest.
you could do it all down on,
I love the dogs.
Right?
No, listen
Yeah.
about the dogs.
So the
This is
dock,
cool.
I'm gonna try to, I've already talked to Penny Schoenecker. A dock, all the docks on the Erie Canal, when we have the big boat coming in, would have, decorate their docks and a big contest. And we have the kids get involved, as they would, be the ones to be the judges. And all the docks will be decorated all through the village.
yeah.
So when the boat comes in, it would be,
I would disconnect this from that, because that's gonna be an
but
event.
that would be on Sunday though. That would be on Sunday, but maybe we have the weekend.
But then
Maybe
for the
that-
artists.
that-
they got-
Well, I would like to say the bicentennial is being celebrated throughout the
Right.
summer. We could
Right.
do this at
That's
any
true.
point.
And maybe we
You
have
know.
all Erie Canal folk, all the art in
It
Erie
sounds like,
Canal.
sounds like we like.
So
All right, I
Dorothea,
like it.
you were gonna say something.
Real quick, 2 things I always learned in local government. We are not allowed to give away money as an award.
The
Okay.
sponsor
So
could.
the sponsor.
Sponsor could.
Great,
We cannot collect sponsorships. We cannot go out and ask people to donate. That's why you partner with someone. who
Like the
can-
chamber
Chamber.
or the
Chamber can
fine
do that.
arts group.
We can't be
Yeah,
a,
we can never solicit.
we can't solicit,
Yeah,
okay?
That's.
So when you're thinking of this project, think of who would you want
Okay.
to join in with, and they
Mm-hmm.
can solicit towards it, but we can't.
you know, like Pittsburgh Fine Arts Group or somebody, you know, somebody
I
to
think
kind of.
Fine arts.
So
Book
the
culture,
sidewalk
book culture
was an
might wanna
idea,
work on
book culture.
something.
The other one was a home tour, where,
Mm.
right, I think home tours in the village, you know, like how Landmark does in the city.
Mhm.
But where would money go to?
Well, you wouldn't necessarily have to, you have to figure out an organization. that
You
wants to-
partner with someone.
Historic Pittsburgh, if your membership, you get a tour next door here on July 20th, I think.
Right,
Yeah, they're
September.
doing that. Yeah, exactly.
But, I
Yeah.
mean,
Have-
historic Pittsburgh, I'm sure their workload is.
There were home tours done many years ago,
Yeah.
many years ago. It's a little bit different today.
Yeah.
I've done several, not here, but I know you have too. The moving parts are extraordinary to be able to do, because you're going into a private. To
Right,
docents,
volunteers, yeah.
volunteer, I mean, there's
So what do you-
legions of volunteers. I'm not saying no, I love the idea because it would really be an incredible
It's
opportunity.
just, what is the extent that government, again, not knowing the answer to this, what can we do to get involved besides saying, hey, we like this and we'll advertise it for you on our website?
Why do we have to do any more than that, though?
Right.
In other words,
Exactly.
why wouldn't, so in other words, why wouldn't we say to Historic Pittsburgh and the Landmark Society, maybe, this could be an opportunity in our community.
Right.
We would love to promote this for, work with you, work with you on that level.
Yeah.
Um,
What do you need? Like. and-
well, they would need, if there's any permitting or that kind of stuff, we
Right.
can
Yeah.
facilitate on the municipal side.
Well, avoiding the compliance.
Yeah.
Introduce them to residents who'd be willing to
Mhm.
open their home potentially.
exactly.
Right, we can reach out to people in that regard.
Well, actually, the organizations would do
Yeah.
that. We would not do that as municipality. You,
Right.
you know,
We just need the vessel that.
You
the
could-
house is here.
yeah,
You couldn't even offer that introduction as like, hey, a friend of mine, a neighbor,
oh, sure, you could.
you could, like individually.
Oh,
I
of course,
guess, right?
yeah.
But you couldn't offer the service and board do it. in
Right,
any way, shape, or form.
Well, it's like, I'm a member of Historic Pittsburgh. I could just say, hey, I was a member of Historic Pittsburgh, you
Would
might
you
be
like to
interested in
do-
that,
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you did a house tour and let's say you finished and I attended one where they ended with a tea, they had
Mhm.
tea, you could offer the village hall.
Village
or-
tea.
Yeah, we could open it up, and actually, I would want to have village. The tour starts here, this is the
Find
information
organizations.
center,
We could think of great ideas.
we
Find
help
organizations.
facilitate relative to people checking in, you have your ticket, oh,
Right,
you
we could
start
go
here.
here.
Looking for something along these lines, is this something you'd be interested in? And if so, what would you need from us? And then we can make a determination if we can do it or not.
Right, we could partner, help sell tickets, we can do that. But
We could advertise on the website.
Yeah. promotion.
Okay, but I just love the idea of trying to get something.
Sure,
like
those.
yeah. But I mean, really, the heavy lifting, just so we're
Done
clear,
by
the
the
heavy
organization.
lifting is always done by the
By the
organizations.
organization.
And we are supportive and we want to, ensure that it goes well and all that.
Okay.
Yeah. Anything else, Dave? I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Ooh, everybody's counting on that.
Got you. Okay, trustee Linda,
Aye.
trustee Co,
Hi.
trustee Wilkes,
Bye.
trustee Marshall,
Aye.
Mayor Plummer.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
You lose one, you're gonna run over.